Oh my god, that like um but eating that. oh god, that was loud. What the fuck? Ugh. Right. All right, let's just start this. Oh yeah, we did it just after the classroom. Setting the score right. All my new fears and doubts zoomed through my mind at a million miles an hour, and before I knew it, homework had ended. First period would begin in about 5 minutes. Misumiko rushed over to the transfer student's desk, knowing him, he was going to try and lay the moves on her. The other students were clearly interested in her too, and the room had gone louder than usual. At a glance, it may have seemed like a casual, peaceful, ordinary thing, but for me, it was like being caught deep within enemy territory. My heartbeat was going crazy. Anxiety filled my head to bursting, and so much as lifting a finger felt like more than a one-man job. My brain was in the midst of a civil war, one side urging me to turn around, the other side warning me not to. Taku. My breath caught in my throat. My mind went completely blank. A voice had come from directly behind me. She really was here. That girl really was here after all. I'm guessing she just knew her name because, like, he said something. The other dude said something. You don't look so good. Are you feeling okay? I needed to run. I needed to run away as fast as I could. Despite that, my legs were shaking so violently that I didn't think I could even stand. And while I was frozen solid, the demon girl, Saki Hatarimi, circled around to the front of my seat. Oh shit, she is there. You're covered in sweat. You're not sick, are you? Oh, so she sits behind me. So that's who was talking, not the transfer student. Ooh, okay. I guess that's answered the fucking title already. Just like 2 days ago, she spoke as if she was concerned about me. Just like 2 days ago, she held out her floral-scented handkerchief. I didn't accept the handkerchief, hurriedly wiping the sweat from my forehead on my own. Why? Why what? I couldn't look her in the eye, but from how she spoke, I could tell she had a smile on her face. Oh, yeah, I was going to ask, what exactly did she say to you? Mimi crouched down, resting her chin on her hands, now eye level with me, so she peered at my face. I quickly looked away. It felt like the anxiety would tear my heart right open at any moment. Damn it, why wouldn't she just let me go? Someone, please help me. I'm real curious. What was she talking about? Who was she talking to me about? The transfer student. When she walked past you, she said something under her breath, but all I heard was pss, pss, pss. Do you two know each other? Mimi was still smiling. Was it just me? Or was she her tone was she her tone more of a probing one than an actually curious one? Okay, I think. Hello, Major Bishop. Yo, cool emotes. Oh my god, that's really cute. How you doing, my dude? I thought you were into real girls. But is that really true? Wait. I thought you weren't into real girls, but is it really true? Where was she going with this? Was her plan to probe me for personal information and exploit it for her own gain? At the end of the day, I really didn't give a damn about 3D girls, just like I always said in that sour voice of mine. In that case, are you into me? An icy chill ran down my back. Despite having just wiped the sweat off my forehead, I could feel moisture all over it. Was that a threat? Or could it be that she was inviting me to become her ally? Or maybe she intended to seduce me, acting all morose so she could lure me into a trap? All sorts of alarm bells were going off in my head. I shouldn't be talking to the demon girl anymore. If I did, I'd be signing my own death warrant. I'm streaming right now by meeting. Okay, dude. Oh, what? Taku! What you eating? What you got for foodies? Is that your dinner? You're Australian too, right? So I'm guessing that's your like evening meal. I'd hit my breaking point. In a panic, I stood up and dashed for the exit, knocking into several desks on my way out. So much for keeping a low profile. I ran straight up the stairs without looking at anyone and came out on the empty roof. It didn't seem like she chased me. Even so, I couldn't allow myself to relax just yet, so I hugged my knees and decided to hide for a little while in the shadows. My knees were trembling. I couldn't believe that I'd managed to run in this condition. I guess it just showed how desperate I was. Yeah, dinner. Nice. I got my dinner like a couple hours. I was tired of this reality. D's sword I'd gone out of my way to buy hadn't been useful in the slightest. I obviously couldn't bring it to school with how much it would stand out either. I'd been careless. 2 days ago when Misumi-kun told me that Rimi was our classmate, I figured that he was either spewing some bullshit or just outright deluding himself. But she really was my classmate, or at the very least she had become one. There was no point in trying to figure out how she'd managed to worm her way in. She was a demon. She could do things that humans were incapable of with ease. Maybe she'd brainwash my whole class. Maybe she'd brainwashed all the teachers instead. I couldn't go to the hospital anymore, and now I couldn't go to school either. Meanwhile, Yua was at cafe, and Shogun always appeared online. The demon girl and her underlings were no doubt getting closer and closer to me, continually hitting me with psychological attack after psychological attack as they did it. Maybe I shouldn't have left my base at all anymore. There was danger and enemies at every turn in reality. They had disturbed me and threatened my peace, even though all I wanted to do was live a quiet life, bothering nobody and being bothered by nobody. I looked up at the blue sky. It floated calmly above me as the wind blew white clouds across its breadth. How nice it would be if I could become one of the clouds. Down. Around 3 hours had passed. I had stayed in the same place the entire time without moving. I didn't sense anyone else coming up at the moment. I could finally breathe. The problem, however, was what came after. During break, there would always be students that come up here to eat lunch. That was why the best way out of this was to escape during fourth period and make a break for my base. I'd mess up my minimum attendance chart, but I didn't possess even a single ounce of courage that would allow me to return to the classroom where the demon girl was. I decided not to worry about the fact that I'd left my bag in the classroom. All I had in there was textbooks, my wallet, my keys, and anything else important would be in my uniform pocket. My wallets, my keys, and anything else important would be in my uniform pockets, I hoped. Growling slightly nervously, I searched my pockets. Wallet, keys, cell phone, they were all there. It was when I remembered that someone had called me. I had pretty much freaked out the entire time, out at the time, but not as much as when Vimia talked to me. Who the hell called me? Yeah, I was trying to figure that out as well. I couldn't think of anyone who'd call besides my family. It would make the most sense if it was Nanami. She never thought about whether she might be bothering me after all. The only other people who'd know this number would be... Oh wait, that's right, I'd given it to those detectives. If it had been one of them, I really should have picked up. I forgot about that, actually. They still hadn't sent the officers to my base like they said they would, so I really needed to talk to them to make sure that was still happening. The caller's phone numbers was displayed on the screen. It didn't seem to be Nanami's, and when I looked closer, I saw that I had a new voicemail. I had the vague feeling that I'd seen this number before, just in case I checked the call history. There were only 5 calls on the list. So bad. I like them bad delusions. Which meant that since I bought a cell phone, I'd only received 5 calls, 3 of which were from Nanami. That left the 2 others. The one from earlier today and the one from 5 days ago was shown as numbers instead of names, and they hadn't been registered in my address book. They were both from the same number. Considering they had gone out of their way to leave a message, it was probably someone who really wanted to tell me something. Guess I'll go ahead and listen to it. Oh, see you later. Alright, have a good rest of your stream, dude. This is Kusunoki Yua. I'm sorry for calling you out of the blue like this. However, there's something I need to talk to you about, no matter what. I was able to buy the new Sarah-chan figure. I couldn't have done it without you, Nishijo-kun. I am very grateful. It's very cute, but a little lewd when you say, huh? When I was buying it, I was really embarrassed. Oh, that's right. Did you see this week's episode of Bloodtoon? What an incredible plot twist. My heart was pounding the entire time I was watching it. Don't you agree? You schizophrenic? You killed someone. Murderer, you're the true culprit. You will pay for your sins. I won't let you escape. Whose eyes are those eyes? Bit spooky. Even though I'd been on my own delusion, I was terrified. It was entirely possible for you to have gotten a hold of my cell phone number from somewhere and called me, after all. I didn't want to listen to the voice message anymore if I could help it. But since I'd already simulated the worst possible outcome in my delusions, I should have been able to handle it as long as I only had to listen and nothing else. Shaking off my depression, I set the message to play back. Then, after checking multiple times to make sure the demon girl wasn't there, I put the phone to my ear. Welcome to the voicemail service center. You have one new message. Voicemail 1, Friday, October 17th, 8:28 a.m. Oh, fuck. The fuck's this? Instead of someone's voice, it was an incredibly familiar melody. Felt like the one being recorded from a short distance away from the phone. Maybe the person near the end was near a pedestrian signal. The song being played was one you'd hear pretty often at crosswalks. It was used in order to let people with visual disabilities know when it was okay to cross. The song was a nursery rhyme called You May Pass, also known as Toyance. Toyance, I don't know. While there were a lot of people that knew the melody, there weren't many who knew the lyrics. Oh, and I was one of them, actually. I memorized them back in middle school. Then again, it wasn't like I remembered them perfectly now. Interesting. You may pass, you may pass. Where shall this narrow path take us to? It is the path to Tenjin Shrine. Please, oh please, will you let us pass? Those with no business will not be let through to celebrate the 7 years of this child's birth. We have come with an offering. Going may prove easy, but returning is... What? But returning is wee woo was what I had heard on the phone. It sounded like an ambulance, which kind of felt like a bad omen. It likely didn't actually mean anything, but it still made me feel pretty creeped out. Ugh. The second after the traffic signal melody got off, an extremely loud noise that sounded like a buzzer exploded from the speakers. It was so ridiculously loud that I automatically shut the phone away from my ear. What the hell? When I cautiously brought the phone back to my ear, the voicemail had already stopped playing. What was that right at the end there? I thought I just barely heard a roaring noise. It sounded like the ground itself was rumbling. That buzzer sound was completely separate from the pedestrian signal melodies. Considering how loud it had been, the only thing I could think of, if it was the phone's receiver had deliberately been put next to whatever made the noise. What, was that a prank? My heart began to pound. Had I done something to make someone hate me enough to do that? Who'd even call me in the first place? I could call them back by dialing the number displayed on my phone, but there was no way I'd be able to call back a prank caller. In the end, all I could do was just leave it. Besides, I was stuck in the middle of a situation far worse than any prank call. I returned my phone to my pocket and ever so carefully left the school, making sure to pay close attention to my surroundings as I escaped. Interesting. Ishidi Takami's alma mater, Kita Kitazawa second elementary school, is about 5-minute walk from the private train station. What the fuck? Oh shit, I'm like... Enough my thing there. Ban Yasuji had attempted to contact Takumi Elementary School teacher over the phone, only to be told that they had unfortunately passed away. Left with no other choice, Ban had decided to set up a meeting to speak with the person who had answered the phone instead, the head teacher, Cameo, not long after he had arrived at school together with his partner. As it was a Saturday, the school gate was closed. The two detectives, Ban and Sua, stopped in front of it and turned their attention towards the school building. The white walls of the school's exterior had been painted with a brightly coloured eye-catching mural. Due to his complete lack of knowledge of paintings or any other kind of fine art, Ban had no idea what it signified, but the way the spiral-shaped mural transitioned vertically into an array of 7 different colours reminded him of a rainbow. As Ban stared at the mural, calling himself with his handheld fan, his partner Sua pushed the intercom button next to the school gate. Suddenly, Ban looked around. He had a feeling that someone was watching him. There was a gaze that seemed to follow him everywhere, leaving him quite discomforted. Weird word. Do I really look that cool? He attempted to strike a casual pose, one that aimed to be dandy and refined. Sir, what's up with that weird pose? He said there's a side entrance by the rear gates, so they want us to come around that way. Ban retired from his pose with a sigh and headed towards the back of the building. The staff room was easy to find. As soon as they entered through the side door, all they had to do was travel down the rear entrance hallway and turn at a single corridor to arrive at the room. There was, of course, no sign of children in school, although it was likely a more mere illusion created by the smooth linoleum floor. The two detectives felt far colder inside the building than they had outside. There were 3 teachers in the staff room. Upon seeing the 2 detectives enter the room, one of the 3 stood up and bowed. The man who stood up was named Cameo. His mostly white hair was parted to the side, and he greeted the 2 of them with a gentle smile. Ban and Sua showed their police badge to him almost simultaneously, returned his greeting briefly, and then immediately approached the topic at hand. It was Sua's job to ask questions. We'd like you to tell us about one of the graduates, Nishiju Takumi-kun. I do indeed remember him. I wasn't a teacher of his myself, however, so I cannot provide you with much detail. Is that alright? So I nodded, taking out his notebook and preparing to write everything down. What kind of kid was Nishiju-kun? I remember hearing that he was quite a difficult one. They said he was special. What do you mean? Well, to be proper, he had a disease that would make it difficult for him to study with his fellow students. Could you be more specific? I don't know if I'm able to say as much. Would you be willing to ask his family or a doctor? Schools had recently begun adopting this approach where they would avoid any issues that may prove difficult to them. They refuse to take part in anything that may earn them complaints from parents or any other parties. Such practices made it incredibly difficult for the police to do their jobs. How did his homeroom teacher pass away? That was an accident. While he was taking his class on a field trip, the road their bus was travelling on suddenly collapsed underneath them. Oh, I remember that. I saw it on the news. All of the children survived, sustaining only minor injuries, but this is such a terrible shame that we lost Mr. Saito. He was the sole victim of the accident. Was Nishiju-kun involved in his accident as well? In response to Ban's question, Cameo shook his head lightly. The boy was absent today and was not present on the bus. Why was he absent? I seem to recall him hearing something about his illness having worsened. Ban too had a faint recollection of the accident. For multiple days following the incident, in the short glimpses Ban caught of the news, he would always see the media swarm in the house of the sole boy who had not been involved in it. It was a truly sad accident. For some reason, while Cameo was repeating himself, he placed a strong emphasis on the word accident. Interesting. I started talking with Grim a lot more before booting up ESO recently, to the point where it was becoming like a ritual. It never really mattered what we talked about. We'd trade interesting or funny at-channel threads, go off about porny shit, wreck each other, new comics, talk about the anime from the day before, or the various dumb stuff. Funnily enough, we didn't actually talk about ESO very much, but that was just because we already talked a lot about it while we were playing it. Has there been some weird ass prank going around recently? Not a lot to go off the deets. Oh, go off there. Deet, please. I don't know. I just heard about it from someone I know. Don't know if it's actually a fad or some shit. It's like there's a recording of a weird sound and you get that as a voicemail or something. What, like a Moro voice whispering sweet nothings to you? Lol. The fuck, Lamar? What era is that from? I mean, wouldn't you rather... wouldn't you rather them just do that to you in person, lol? No one cares. Now, whose fucking eyes are those eyes? Rim was still saying it. Thanks to that, I started to feel awful pretty much immediately. Not to mention he was talking really weird in chat to the point where I felt fairly forced, like he was trying way too hard to be funny by shoving those words in. Or at the very least, I didn't find it funny. In fact, I felt more cringy than anything. But I couldn't let myself get angry with him until I'd gotten my info about the prank. So I was forced to put up with it. Okay, so it's like the sounds of a wild otaku freak fapping then, lol. Okay, that's too far. But in all seriousness, they play You May Pass. You May Pass, what, like the song? The one that plays at crosswalks and shit? Yeah, that one. And then while it's playing, it'll get cut off halfway and swap to like a buzzer-like sound. Apparently the volume is ear raped her. So yeah, ever heard of a prank like that? That's the kind of thing you'd find floating around at channel, right? Yesterday I got a voicemail with a mysterious buzzer sound. I had no idea who sent it, and the contents unsettled me for some reason, which is why I decided to try and ask Grim if he knew anything about it. If it was just a simple prank, I could just forget about it. Huh? Grim wasn't responding. Why was he being silent? Hello? Did you die? Still no response. Grim didn't usually fall asleep like this. In fact, this was the first time it would have ever happened. If he actually had fallen asleep, then I guess I'd just log off. We meet up again later in ESO anyway, so I could just bring it up then. But the second I thought of that and began to get up from my chair. Kept you waiting, huh? Kept you waiting, huh? I was sifting through Ad Channel, was looking for stuff about your prank. Oh, see, that's why you disappeared. But that meant that even the oh-so-well-informed Gwyn hadn't known about the prank. But no matter how many threads or boards or whenever I searched, I found nothing. Not on Ad Channel, not anywhere on the net. Why can't you just search it himself? So would that mean that whoever pulled the prank had some sort of personal grudge against me? I'm still curious about the true identity of the caller, but I wasn't brave enough to call them back. Well, that's it. Since I knew the phone number, that meant I could use someone else as a scapegoat and have them call it for me. The best person for the job would either be Nanami or Misumi-kun. Wait, Misumi-kun may have been brainwashed by the demon girl, so that wouldn't work. As for Nanami, however, I was sure I'd have no trouble asking her to do it. She'd probably get pissed at me afterwards, but who gave a shit? Hell, if anything, it'd be good for her to suffer the tortures of society every once in a while. I thanked Grim for his help, promised that I'd meet back with him on ESO in a few hours and close the chat. Right as I did, I felt my stomach growl. Man, I was hungry. Did I have any cup ramen stuck anywhere? I tried looking around for a bit, but I couldn't find any. Reluctantly, I decided to head to the convenience store to buy some. Oh dear. Big mistake, bucko. The sun was already setting. I wanted to avoid going out late at night as much as possible because every time I did, nothing ever good came out of it. I unconsciously started walking faster, hurrying down the road towards the convenience store. Today was Saturday, so I expected to run across a ton of pedestrians, but I hadn't encountered a single one so far. All of the stores that should have been open were closed, which kind of weirded me out. All of the stores that should have been open were closed, which kind of weirded me out. Maybe I was just confused, like maybe I thought it was 7 p.m, but it was actually 2 a.m. I like that ever happened. But even so, it was way too quiet. I could barely hear any of the normal city noises you would expect. The aura that city was given off was different than normal. I arrived at this Shinsen Station convenience store. It was right in front of the train station, yet there wasn't a single person here either. I was starting to get more and more freaked out. The sudden disappearance of something I'd take for granted was enough to make me feel like I'd been transported to a completely different world. On a normal day, I would always avoid running into or talking to other people, but all I wanted to right now was to see another person's face. I went inside the convenience store. There has to be someone working here, I thought to myself as I looked around the store. No, I actually want to see what actually happens. There's no one here. There was no customers, not any employees. Ha, there's no way. This couldn't be happening. An employee had to be in the back. If I were to just bring something up to the register, they should come out right after. So I decided to leisurely grab a box lunch, pretend to flip through a manga magazine while I was at it, and then come to the counter and set the box down. No one's coming out. I tried restlessly looking around the store. No one's coming out. I took out my wallet to make sure I had change. No one's coming out. I picked up the box lunch and set it down again, making a small noise. No one's coming out. I couldn't get myself to call out "excuse me" or anything like that. I couldn't even if there was no one here. No one's coming out. I thought about testing to see what would happen if I tried to leave without paying, but then I decided it wasn't worth getting the risk of getting arrested. No one's coming out. The employees must have gone out to take the trash. No one's coming out. Or they were checking the inventory in the warehouse out the back. No one's coming out. After enough time had passed, I started feeling scared, so I put the box lunch back on the shelf and left the store. I wanted to go to the railroad crossing located next to the station. From there, I'd be able to see the Shinsen station platform. There was no way a place like that would be deserted by. That's what I would hope for, but there was no one there. I waited for a train to come. Once that happened, there would be a bunch of passengers that would get off. But even if no one got off, I'd definitely see people riding the train as it passed in front of me. Even after 10 minutes, a train still hadn't come. I tried to convince myself that must have been an accident or something that had messed with the schedule, but there was no sign of any passengers on the platform. It was then that I finally realised the gravity of the situation. This was weird. This was really, really weird. That's it. I go to Shibuya Station. There absolutely had to be people there. No doubt about it. There were people in front of Shibuya Station 24/7 without fail. I broke into a run without thinking. I ran as hard as I could. I didn't want to stop even if I was out of breath. It was probably the fifth time in my life I'd ever run so hard. As I ran, I hoped that this was just some sick dream I was having, but I knew it wasn't. My heart and lungs felt like they were about to explode. The pain was far beyond what you could feel in a dream. It surprised me how unbelievably fast I was breathing, and yet no matter how much I inhaled, the pain refused to go away. As I kept running down Dojin Zaka, I finally saw 107. But by the time I did, my legs were already shaky. My body felt extremely heavy. Even so, I forced my feet to keep moving. I no longer had it in me to pay attention to my surroundings. The entirety of my consciousness was forced and scrambled crossing this symbol of Shibuya. Almost there, just a little bit further. The second I passed 107, it'd be right there. The largest in Japan. It was the place where the largest number of people in Japan came together all at once. That was why that was why I had to get to scramble. To scramble. Don't seem to be nobody there. It's a bit weird. Empty. That was the state of Shibuya Station, which I could see from the Y junction running in front of 107. A world without sound, a world that felt dead. A place which had always been flooded with overwhelming sound, now ruled by silence. The only thing I could hear was the sound of my own heavy breathing. This can't. I fell to my knees in the middle of the large street. I couldn't walk another step. The shock had stolen every last ounce of strength from my body. This is Shibuya, right? There was no one to my left, to my right, in front of me, behind me. There was no one anywhere. Even though 7 p.m. on a Saturday night was when Shibuya should have been the most crowded. What was going on? This wasn't happening. This couldn't be happening. I closed my eyes and cradled my head. This was a dream, an illusion. This couldn't be reality. Yes, it was true that I wanted to live a quiet and peaceful life all by myself. I didn't want anyone to interfere with me, and I didn't want to get involved in anything. That didn't mean I wanted to live in a world where no one existed. If no one existed, who would pay for my living expenses? If no one existed, who would make box lunches for me to eat? If no one existed, who would play ESO with me? If no one existed. A sound. I'd heard a sound. It hadn't come from me. It had been from someone else. Someone was here. Someone other than me was nearby. It felt like I had been saved. As I had thought, it was just a coincidence. It only appeared like there was no one here. In truth, no one had disappeared. I wasn't the only one left in the world. I was so relieved that I almost started crying. I turned my gaze towards the sound. It's probably like a cow or something. Oh. Huh. Yeah. It was a boy in a wheelchair. A short distance away from me, though still in the middle of the intersection, he sat quietly in place. I couldn't quite figure out how old he was. If I had to guess, from his size alone, I'd say he was probably in elementary school. He was wearing his hat so low that I couldn't see his expression very well, but we meet at last. I could hear the boy's voice extremely clearly. It felt like he was whispering directly into my ear, which made me turn around. Of course, there was no one there. Excuse me, sir, do you know what's going on here? Even though he was younger than me, I ended up speaking formally to him. Why is no one here? Would you happen to know the reason why? Yes, I know why. Despite how young his voice sounded, there was nothing childish about it. But more importantly, did you receive my message? Message? What message? I had no idea what he was talking about. Who are you? The boy moved his wheelchair forward slightly. The wheelchair was old and it made a rusty sound as it came closer to me. Whose eyes are those eyes? Oh shit, is he the killer? Of the, second one or whatever. The fourth one. Third one? Yes. I was confused. Why had he murmured whose eyes are those eyes just now? Who was he? You must awaken quickly, because if you don't, many more people are going to die. What the hell are you? I opened my eyes to wipe away my tears, and because of that, I was finally able to get a clear look at the boy's face. Oh, that's creepy. That's creepy. Oh, I don't like that. The boy wasn't a boy. His skin was covered with wrinkles like an old man. His cheeks were hollow. His eye sockets had sunken into an abnormal extent. His pupils were cloudy. He had no eyebrows, and his body was as small as a child's. I am Shogun. Oh, okay. Interesting. For a moment I forgot how to breathe. My head felt like it had been struck by a hammer. The ground was shaking violently. No, my body was falling over. I shot my hands out onto the asphalt to keep myself upright. What had he just said? Shogun. He was Shogun? Don't forget. You mustn't run away. I lifted my head and watched the Shogun, who had already turned his back to me at left Scramble Crossing. His wheelchair was getting further and further away, making a creaking sound as it moved. Thought of chasing after him and pressing him for answers didn't even cross my mind. I didn't think of running out, punching him in the face, for dragging me into this either. I wasn't even remotely a confrontational person. My head started to hurt. The area around my temples throbbed with pain. Still cowering on the spot, I tried to endure it. Taku. In the world without sound, a discordant noise began to spread, an all-encompassing static. Whose voice was that? Don't look at me. Taku. That was what had previously been just a random discordant mess of garbled static, gradually turned into a real voice. Somebody gently placed a hand on my shoulder. Shh, you're in the way, assholes. The hell's your problem? It's these days. Could it be some kind of performance? Taku. While still trying to enjoy the pain of my headache, I looked up. Oof, yeah. The demon girl, Rimi, was peering at my face as she stood over me. Eyes that were clear and full of life, eyes that looked at me, and only me. Again, this girl had appeared out of nowhere once again. Can you walk? Here. She wrapped her hand under my arm and tried to make me stand up. I shrieked and shook her off. I came to my senses and looked around. I was stood in the middle of the street, but it wasn't deserted anymore. There were people around me in every direction, walking every which way without paying any mind. Taku! Mimi, with a face that looked like she was about to cry, reached out to me once more. Listen to me, Taku. Stay back! When I screamed, the throbbing in my head transformed into intense stabbing pain. Even so, I ignored it, scrambling back on all fours to try and get away from Mimi. It was you, wasn't it? That was your delusion, and you made me see it. Controlling my mind, attacking my psyche. You fucking demon. I'm gonna kill the likes of you with my sword. As soon as I get back to my base, I'll get my D-sword. Dude, he just slapped. She just slapped him. An abrupt impact ran through my cheek. It stung with pain and began to heat up. She slapped me. She was going to kill me once and for all. Scurrying back on all fours, I tried as hard as I could to escape with my life. But Remy quickly grabbed my hand. With strength I never thought a girl could have, she pulled me towards her. Oh. And embraced me. Her her soft form gently enveloped my own. It was so warm, I could smell a tiny hint of sweat. Her silky hair trickled at the tip of my nose. Pull yourself together. With such an anticlimax, my whole body felt like it was about to give up. It's not safe for you to stay here. Her voice was slightly shaky. I couldn't tell if she was crying or not, because the light's turning red. I was so confused. Was she not going to kill me? Why was she helping me? The hallucination from before, where all the people in Shibuya disappeared, it wasn't something she'd forced me to see. When I felt such a kind, gentle warmth, when she embraced me so innocently, it shook everything I had believed up until this point. Could it be that Sakihata Rimi wasn't actually a demon at all? Or was it foolish to believe that? Was it that, what if this was just a cunning way to deceive me? Regardless, one thing was for sure. With Rimi hugging me, I felt an incredible sense of relief. I had no idea what to call such a strange sensation. Upon letting go of me, Rimi put my face between her hands and stared at me once again. Her eyes were slightly red. Please, Taku, come with me. Okay? For some reason, I nodded. We were standing still, alone in the middle of the empty intersection. A number of people on the sidewalk waiting for the pedestrian signal to change were watching us closely. We could hear a few people laughing here and there. Many cars had their headlights trained on us and were starting to honk their horns. Mimi grabbed my hand tightly and started running towards the sidewalk. She pulled me along with her and I followed. With countless horns blaring at us, we made it to the sidewalk. Mimi breathed a sigh of relief and stopped. My hand was still in hers. Just being held in this way made my heart feel more and more at ease. I wanted to submit myself to this feeling. I wanted to stay like this forever. Mimi turned back in my direction. I'm glad you're okay. She smiled an incredibly happy smile. I didn't know whether it was real, an act, or what exactly it was, but let it go. Because I had been so hostile to her until now, because I had thought of her as a demon until now. If I let her win me over like this, I felt like I'd cease being myself. Sorry, ta. She quickly let go of my hand. Anyways, you really gave me a scare. You were all huddled up in the middle of the road. I had no idea what I was gonna do once the light turned red. I turned my back to Remy as she started talking cheerfully. I walked off, pushing my way through the crowd of people. We're going home. Oh, okay, then I'll walk back with you. I know you're not feeling too hot. Her voice chased me from behind, but I shook my head in refusal. Taku. The cheerfulness from before had vanished from her voice. I felt terrible considering how much she had done to help me, so I thank you. Just barely managed to squeeze out those words. Okay. To think that the three investigative divisions would actually merge into one. Staring at the detectives. Okay, so we're back here. Staring at the detectives gathered in the Shibuya Police Department's conference room, Ban Yasuji thought that to himself. The Oru Inokashira line Shibuya Station public bathroom homicide case, or as media called it to amuse themselves, that vamp body case has caused an increasingly serious drop in manpower. When three brutal murders occurred within the same jurisdiction with the same period of time, the possibility of a single perpetrator became more and more evident. The suggestion that had been raised that the Cornelius Tower mass suicide case be handled by the juvenile division, but since the media had been treating it as part of the new gen, there was the possibility that if the police treated the case differently, they would be subjected to criticism. Therefore, it was only natural that the central office had chosen the only remaining option to merge the several investigation headquarters. Visual novel? Yeah, it's a visual novel. Welcome back. Did you do your exam or whatever the hell you were doing yesterday when you dipped? You were in for like 2 seconds, you're like, oh shit, I'm gonna do something, so yeah. Yes, then A, good job. Oops. 1 second. No, the timing, bro. I swear to God, they suddenly texted me to do it. It's fine, dude. Don't worry about it. Yeah, we're reading a visual novel. Do you want the do you want the recap, or are you just gonna like sort of chill? This is like, yeah, like I said, this is the 4th day of it, so there's quite a lot going on, and I don't even know how to explain it. But I can try and recap you if you are interested. If you're not really interested, you're just gonna you're not really bothered, then I won't bother. But with this integration now in place, the group was reviewing the series of new gen cases one by one. The projection screen at the front of the conference room displayed a series of photographs of the crime scenes one after the other. Sue had been chosen to hold the presentation. He had stayed up all last night going over the documents endlessly. Good work, Brown muttered internally, chin resting in his hands. I'm sure I'll watch. I'm not into visual novels. I just want to watch. All right, fair enough. It should be pretty interesting what you think of it. Just coming in the middle of it then. The Cornelius Tower mass suicide case went down on September 7th. Took place on. Of the 4 incidents that the mass media had begun referring to as new gen, it was the first to occur. At 11:30 p.m., a group of 5 men and women fell from the helipad on the roof of Shibuya's Cornelius Tower. There was no survivors, as you can tell. All 5 were underage high school students, 3 male, 2 female. Out of the 5, 2 attended the same school, while the remaining 3 each attended different schools. The autopsy of the bodies revealed that each of the 5 had small traces of flesh embedded beneath their fingernails, along with scratches on the palms of their hands. From this information, we can assume that the 5 fell whilst holding hands. There was no sign of any suicide note on the roof. It appears that the 5 victims all came together after school and headed towards Cornelius Tower together. As for further proof that there is more to this incident than a mere group suicide, the roof of the Cornelius Tower is off limits to all non-personnel. This music is way too fucking loud. As for the further proof that those... Wait, did I don't remember if I read that. At the time of the incident, the door to the rooftop was locked, and none of the 5 victims' fingerprints were found on the doorknob. The key to the rooftop was not found amongst any of the 5 victims' belongings either. This suggests that someone other than the victims may have been present at the scene before and after the incident occurred. The investigation is proceeding under the assumption that the third party possessed the key to the door, locked it, and left it before or after the incident. We have already conducted interviews of all Cornelius Tower Hotel employees, and nearly every one of them has an alibi. We are now in the process of interviewing the employees of the companies hosted in the tower. Currently, we have yet to find a motive for any of the 5 victims to commit suicide. For 4 out of the 5 victims, those related to them in some way, such as family members, friends, school teachers, and so forth, all declare unanimously that there was no reason for any of them to commit suicide. Oh yeah, this one's nasty. This is actually a decent place to come in because they're actually like recapping all the murders like pretty clearly. The slideshow swapped to a picture of the second case, the Shibuya Station undergrad and fetus homicide case. This one's like nasty. Next, let's discuss the case known colloquially as the man-child case. The incident occurred on September 19th, 12 days after the group dive incident. The first to discover the body was an employee of the karaoke box located near the scene. The body was found at approximately 5 a.m. The victim was 21-year-old Konoe Chizure, a third-year college student living in Shibuya Ward. The victim was already dead when he was found. The time of death is estimated to be around 1 a.m. on the 19th, around 4 hours before the body was found. The body's abdomen was unnaturally swollen, and a fetus was discovered inside it upon examination. The autopsy revealed that the victim's abdomen has been cut open while they had still been alive, and the fetus had been inserted inside. The fetus is believed to have been already dead at a point in time. The victim died after his abdomen was sewn back together. We found traces of thread being torn from the wound, leading us to believe that he had been scratching at the sutures prior to his death. That is nasty. The fetus was found to have been developed for at least 8 months, which leads us to believe that it was removed from the mother via C-section. The mother of the fetus had not yet been determined, and whether they are alive or dead is similarly unknown. Forensic analysis of the DNA has shown that the fetus and the victim are unrelated. To support it, Tofita's blood type is B, and the victim's blood type is A. Sua took a breath. He seemed exhausted from not talking. Furthermore, he had been awfully nervous given a presentation in front of so many senior detectives. Next, we have the third case, the Mario Yumacho staking homicide case. After a short delay, the next slide displayed a photo of the crucifixion crime scene. This is a photo of the crime scene. Huh. It didn't look anything like that. Huh. Interesting. They're not even, like, going into him. It looks like they're going around, like, they're just pinning him up. Huh. The incident occurred on September 29th. The victim is 56-year-old Ota Hisaishi, a professor at Touro University. The first to discover the body was a man living in an apartment near the crime scene. The victim's cause of death was strangulation. After they were killed, the body was pinned to the wall with 10 small metal spikes. Fascinating. Okay. As you can see, the body has next to no external wounds. A few of the spikes penetrated the body, but the spikes were generally affixed to the victim's clothing. The media is referring to this as the crucifixion, the bloody rare stake, or other similar names, despite the fact that there is actually no bleeding at all. The spikes are sold by German company Kruzennagel. In actuality, they are stakes with a distinctive long cross-like shape. As the killer ultimately elected to use cruciform objects, the investigation is proceeding while examining the crime from a religious angle. Oh, he's pregnant, so cute, yeah. They're gonna do a gender reveal party. We have received several testimonies detailing that between 9 and 9:30 p.m., the time the incident was occurring, the continuous sound of nails being driven into the wall could be heard for tens of minutes in the vicinity of the crime scene. As the victim's estimated time of death is at almost exactly the same time as this, we believe that the victim was likely killed right where the body was found or somewhere near the scene. In addition, although the statement may have not been entirely credible, we have received testimony claiming that a female student for Sume Private Academy was seen at the crime scene. Lastly, there is the Inokashira Line Shibuya Station public bathroom homicide case, known colloquially as the vampire case. The incident occurred on October the 10th, and the body was discovered by a station attendant at around 5:30 a.m. The victim's identity remains unknown. There was no belongings left behind that may point towards their identity. The time of death was estimated between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. the day prior. All the blood had been drained from the body, and he was left in a stage resembling that of mummification. As you are already aware, this photograph was taken by an unknown individual and was sold on the internet auction site about 15 minutes before the body was found. As he listened to Sua's explanation, but I give a light click of the tongue. Seems like death is what's in these days. Hey, Mum, I want the heart, but we have the Hulker. Yeah. Chapter 3, Shogun. Chapter 4, D-Sword. Signed, I thought it said Sin City. I need to watch that, so. Sign City was a pair of buildings located just south of Shibuya Scramble Crossing. A small plaza rested in front of the entrance to the east building. While it was not nearly as big as the ones in front of Hachiko, the Moai statue, or other popular destinations, it still found itself used quite often as a meeting place. Even now, around a dozen people were staring at their cell phones, waiting for their engagements to begin. What's her? What a cutie. Among those few, only one girl wore an oddly stern expression on her face as she idoled a high school student known as Aoi Sena. She was standing next to the escalator leading down from Inokashira Line station. She leaned back against a nearby white pillar as she thoroughly scanned the environment with her gaze. In contrast to both the sharpness of her gaze and the season, she was nibbling on a popsicle, which in turn made her appear incredibly charming to the casual observer. In truth, the girl was not waiting for anyone, but instead quietly observing the passers-by. From where she was standing, she could see all the way to the Jumbotron located at Scramble Crossing. A music video from a famous singer was being displayed on it, and on the lower portion of the screen, a news ticker was reporting to the latest information on the recent string of incidents, colloquially referred to as New Gem. Not a day went by without New Gem-related news. It was everywhere. TV, newspapers, the internet, weekly managers, Jumbotrons, electric billboards, everywhere. Although Senna had obviously no interest in the phenomenon, she would often overhear people speaking about it as she passed by them on the streets of Shibuya. Whose eyes are those eyes? Over the past few days, she had begun to see several people wearing t-shirts with those words emblazoned on them. In Shibuya, the phrase had become popular as an obscure meme, and it was now starting to really take off. Despite the brutal scene the words originated from, people happily walked on down the street, raving about how well the shirts were selling at souvenir shops at Harajuku, a clear indication of how disinterested people were in anything other than themselves. Senna sorted some co. Senna sorted quietly in a contemptuous display, finished the last bite of her popsicle, and closed her eyes softly without losing her stern expression. She listened carefully to the noise of the city. An abundance of different sounds billowed in front of the station as a Sunday afternoon. The roar of trains arriving at the platform, the blaring horns of taxis, people walking and talking, the background music coming from the jumbotrons and from inside the Sign City stores. The announcements telling people how to safely ride the escalators. The sounds were never allowed to end. Before one sound finished, another one would appear, creating a multi-layered discord that rung throughout the station. In the midst of all the discordant noise, Senna focused her attention only on the people's voices. Her mind blocked out any of the other sound, and their words soon became clear. Do you think it's going to be under the same killer? Not going to the news, there was the MO. I mean, wouldn't it be freaky if the... I'm not reading this. Hope you can read quick. Yo, dude, check this out. Oh, how? What is this totally normal shirt? Pretty cool. Yeah, super cool. Suck my dick, dude. Go buy one yourself. With the new gen killer out there, everything's basically dismissed as murder, and then a gap happened. Looked up on the news. I'd finally get to meet. I see. You lose. A short click of the tongue escaped from Senna's mouth as she stopped listening soon after. There was nothing of value to be found in any of the noise. After all, noise was simply that. Noise. This feeling of someone's gaze on me. Am I imagining it? Once more, Senna examined her surroundings. For a while now, she had been feeling a repulsive sensation like cold fingers caressing her spine. A gaze being cast upon her by an unknown entity. One which she was unable to pinpoint exactly what the source was. Senna pushed herself off the pillar she was leaning against. Then, as if she had remembered something, she stared out at the popsicle stick in her hand. Looks like I lost, huh? Gradually growing more and more discontent, she wrinkled her brow and began to walk quickly towards the station. That sky. Why is it so blue that it makes me want to cry? Because someone wished for it to be. I didn't wish for it. No, but I did. Oh shit, this is like a mostly background. Because this place is your image world, but at the same time, it is mine as well. Hey, that sky, where is it? Wherever you wish for it to be. Is it okay for me to wish for it? Good morning. Come on, it's time to get up. Wakey, wakey, eggs and bakey. Serotan was calling me. Last night, Apple Blood Tomb was awesome. Serotan played a huge part in it, and there was a super hot kiss scene. The animation quality was practically movie tier too. So this is our actual character. The one before that was sort of just like a narrator. It seemed like a third person narrator. This is like our actual character, which 90% of this focuses on. If you wake up, I'll give you a good morning kissy poo. Wait, what am I saying? Stupid. I didn't really mean it, you dope. Serotan was calling me. Plus, she was saying such moe things that I couldn't not wake up. I tore the blanket off my body and got up from the sofa with a groan. I used one of these once. One of those like anime alarm clock things. And I used it once, and it was so loud, it scared the shit out of me. I never did it before. I was like, oh my god, who the fuck is that? And I like turned off, I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna get back to my normal alarm. Hey, just how long are you gonna sleep for, you big dum-dum? If you keep on sleeping, I'm gonna bash you with my samurai condenser and wake you up real good. The moment I turned off my alarm clock, the voice of Serotan that had been echoing throughout the room disappeared. Morning, Santa. Oh, Sarah. The Sarah alarm clock I had was very useful. If I didn't turn it off, the volume would slowly get louder and louder, and if I still didn't get up, an obnoxious buzzer sound would ring out. I wanted to be Serotan, I wanted it to be Serotan who woke me up in the morning, so I made it a point to wake up and turn it off before the buzzer. I'd only failed to do so once or twice so far. After all, being woken up by Serotan was a great way to start the day. Waking up was the absolute worst. I played video until dawn, and the couch had been extremely uncomfortable once I actually had gone to sleep, but having her wake me up helped alleviate some of the pain. Today was a school day. I skipped a day last week, so my minimum attendance chart was really starting to fall apart. With the chart, I only slated to go twice this week, but because of that deviation, I stuck with having to go 3 times instead. I didn't want to go, but it'd be much worse if I didn't. If I missed any more days, I wouldn't be able to graduate. Then again, whether or not I graduate makes no difference to me, to be honest. Just a moment ago, I for some reason I read that as having a wet dream of Remy in it, but that was no wet there, just a dream of Remy. It was a strange dream, one that felt incredibly wistful. Oh, that was a dream he just had, I guess. One that felt terribly loathsome, one that felt terribly sad, and one that felt terribly distant. Would Remy come to school today? I've been thinking about the day before yesterday constantly. I'd been thinking about it so often that I'd even forgotten to play ESO yesterday. There'd been the appearance of Shogun and the delusion where every person in Shibuya disappeared, but I was barely giving either of those things any thought. I had to have just been a delusion of mine. There was no way Shogun could just be an old man, and the idea of people just disappearing from Shibuya or whatever was completely ridiculous, so there was no point in worrying about it. It had been a horribly realistic delusion, sure, but the fact that I'd allowed myself to fall for something so unrealistic so easily and get all freaked about it was just embarrassing. Regardless, above all else, I was thinking about Remy, the girl I had been calling the demon girl up until only a couple of days ago. Most of what I'd felt back then was shaky and surreal, and as if some sort of dream, but I could still vividly remember the sensation of Remy's body embracing my own. If she hadn't done that, I could have gone insane and lost myself completely. Why had Remy saved me? Maybe because we really were friends. I didn't have any memories of us being classmates now, let alone since first year, nor do I remember going to the movies with her along with Misumiken. But the way she treated me was definitely how you treat a real close friend. She'd even seemed like she'd been close to crying when she held me. That, at the very least, I didn't think was an act. That was the first time I've ever seen a girl care about me, let alone cry over an attacky freak like me. When she treated me like that, all my fears and suspicions were blown away in an instant. In fact, it made me feel like I might fall in love with her. No, I obviously couldn't let myself to do that. Confusion invaded every corner of my mind. How was I supposed to act around Remy from now on? Was Remy my ally or my enemy? Was Remy the new gen culprit? She'd saved me, that was an undeniable fact, but it was just as much of a fact that I'd seen her standing still as could be at the scene of the crucifixion, covered in blood. On my way to school, I stopped by Shoku Park. After what happened with Yura, I put a stop to my habit of eating breakfast there before going to school. There was no way I could feel even remotely relaxed when I thought that Yura could be watching me from anywhere. And even if I ignored that, if she came up to talk to me, she would start going off about her irritating delusional schizo bullshit all over again. I didn't want anything to do with a girl like that. Yura was Rimi's underling. Sure, my original guess may have been incorrect, but that didn't mean that Yura wasn't my enemy. It was still possible that Shogun was the boss of the whole thing and you was one of his underlings. Either way, I knew I'd be better off staying as far away from her as I could, and yet I found myself coming here today for some reason. I examined my surroundings carefully to make sure I couldn't see Yua anyway, and once I knew the coast was clear, I slowly sat down on my usual bench. I took a bite out of my chocolate bread I just bought from the convenience store and looked out at the pond. There was next to no wind. The surface of the water was calm and serene. I could see the occasional shadow of carpet fish gliding through the murky water. The park was unusually empty today. It was a very quiet spot. As my gaze wandered around the park, I couldn't help but think about Remy. To be honest, I've been dreading going to school today. I knew I'd have to face her if I did. That was the real reason why I was stalling at the park. It felt like I'd said a lot of awful things to her, and yet the smile on her face never faltered. She had always treated me like I was a close friend, and I was sure that when I went to school today, she would keep on doing that as if nothing had ever happened. She'd smile and talk to me like we were friends, pretending that she didn't even care at all what had happened in front of 107. It was hard to put into words, but I felt a little bit annoyed by her constant cheerfulness. Yet at the same time, I also ended up feeling more cheerful myself when I was with her. I wasn't sure how to act once I did run into her. It was true that I didn't think she was a demon anymore, but honestly, I didn't think of her as a friend either. Mizuko has said that she and I had been really close classmates for the past year and a half, but I didn't remember anything like that at all. Maybe it really was because of the person controlling me. But making my memories of Remy and only Remy disappear with pinpoint accuracy like that, there was no way that was possible. Upon entering the school building, I lowered my head even further towards the ground. As my usual MO, I kept close to the wall and walked slowly towards the staircase. My class was on the 3rd floor. Getting up there was a pretty big hassle. They could really use an escalator or something. What fucking school has an escalator? Oh, it's her. When I reached the foot on the staircase, I spotted a girl climbing unsteadily up the stairs. She was dragging her right leg a little as she walked. Maybe she twisted it. Her petite body swayed from side to side. She looked extremely unstable. As other students passed by one after the other, the girl steadily continued to climb, exactly one step at a time. Watching her from below, I would be able to see her any second now. Just do her already, we want Matt. Whereabouts? My school has an escalator? Are you fucking kidding me? That's crazy. Is your school, like, massive? Yeah, this isn't, for those with broken legs. Huh. That's weird. You mean, like an escalator, right? Not an elevator. Like, we had an elevator. Like a lift. Like an actual escalator you would have, like, in a mall. Or, like a train station. Also, yeah, this isn't... Oh, then never mind. Yeah, yeah. Escalators are not elevators. Yeah, this isn't really a romance one. Mine's a lift. Yeah. We had a couple lifts at our school. Yeah, this isn't really a romance thing. There's some, like, romance delusions, but this is not. I'm pretty sure this isn't, even though it's like a harem, there's not many, this isn't really a romance thing. It's kind of hard to play. There isn't many good romance visual novels that don't have, like, H scenes, which I wouldn't be able to stream. I'm low-key planning on doing, Clannad After Story at some point, but you would have to have watched Clannad or read the first part of Clannad to really appreciate that. But yeah. Watching her from below, I would be able to see her panties any second now. Shit, if I kept this up, I'd be labeled as a total pervert. Last thing I needed was to go in front of a mirror and see myself as Bill Clinton in some shit. Never read nor watched. I don't want depression. Yeah, fair enough. You will get depression from that, so that's fine. Let's play like a hentai game or something. There are plenty of those, and some of them are good. Play Kato Shoujo. That's free and brilliant. No, that's the wrong shot. Alright, no worries, dude. Last thing I needed was to go in front of a mirror and see myself with Bill Clinton or some shit. With that thought in mind, I stepped onto the stairs in order to pass the girl, but right when I did, the girl caught the tip of her shoe on one of the steps and staggered. Oh my god, she like fell down the stairs, Jesus. She then fell down so hard you can almost feel the crash sound effect. Fortunately, she ended up falling on the landing, so she hadn't fallen down the entire staircase. She was still down on her knees from the pain though, and was staying pretty still. Could this be a flag? Yeah, no way. Even if it was, calling out to anything even remotely similar would be impossible for me. So I hurriedly slipped past that. Yo, he just dipped. Sorry, but you should get some womanizer who's actually into 3D to help you. Someone like Misumi-kun. You really shouldn't rely on me. But the girl was staying curled up on the ground so motionlessly, I started to get a little worried. I was halfway up the stairs when I slowly turned back around to check on her. The girl was gripping onto the railings and trying her absolute hardest to stand back up. Her knees were trembling. She looked like a newborn fawn or something. Her knee was oozing blood. Maybe she scraped it. Her face, I'd seen it before. Wasn't she the girl who transferred into my class last week? Yeah, no shit, idiot. What was her name again? Oh, I can't remember. I don't remember either. Oh, wow, she was crying. Did it hurt that badly? The fall definitely had been pretty bad, but not bad enough that she'd cry from it. There was nobody else willing to lend her a hand. After just managing to stand up, she bent forward and peered down at her knee. She must have been checking to see if she'd hurt it. The transfer student wiped away her tears. She set down her bag on the spot and started rummaging around inside it. What's she looking for, I wondered. Suddenly she raised her hand above her head in a triumphant manner. Clasped in her hand was a band-aid. Our eyes met. Transfer student went red in surprise soon after, then hung her head. Regardless, she looked like she was okay, so I was sure she'd be fine without me. Thinking that, I hurriedly made my way to class. As per usual, I kept my head down and gaze fixed on my toes. And while still remaining silent, I took my seat. When I sat down, I remembered that the transfer student had said something to me on the day she transferred. I'm so happy we're in the same class, or something. I had forgotten all about it, but after everything with Rimi, I wondered what she meant by that. Yo, Taku! Still according to routine, Misumi called out to me. Maybe he didn't have any other friends besides me. He'd always talk to me and no one else, so I started to genuinely suspect that. Listen up, okay? So yesterday, I saw these two sketchy old dudes going into the principal's office. Yeah, when I saw that, Remy and I both went straight to trying to eavesdrop on them, and we were totally shocked by what we heard. Those two guys were detectives. What? Detectives? Yeah, they were going over the whole school roster. They looked real serious. Uh-oh. Maybe it's got something to do with New Gen. Maybe the true New Gen culprit was someone at this very school. I couldn't help it, but a face popped into my mind. Remy's. Well, they did end up catching us when we were eavesdropping too. I jumped. Speak of the devil, Jesus Christ. I felt my heart rate leap when I heard Remy's voice invade the conversation. I couldn't look up, I was too nervous. But this was a completely different kind of nervousness than last week's. That's because you decided it would be a great idea to open the door. It's your fault. Oh, come on, I couldn't help it. I'd never seen a real detective before, so I was obviously a little excited, and then I just kind of did it. How the hell do you just kind of open a door? Thanks to you, we had to get questioned by those two dicks too. What's wrong, Daichin? Got something you don't want big, scary Mr. Detective to hear? Don't you? Gee, I wonder. Misu and Rima were having a conversation with my desk sandwiched between them. They were completely ignoring my existence, but to be honest, I was grateful for that. Even if Rimi did talk to me, I didn't have any faith that I'd be able to say anything back. I was hoping that the bell would ring before they got the chance to say anything to me, but when I glanced at the clock, I saw there was still about 5 minutes left until class was over. Oh yeah, that reminds me, Taku, did you see Kozori-chan on the way here? Kozori-chan? Who? Oh right, I figured you probably wouldn't remember because it's you and all, but you really don't, huh? The transfer student from last week, Orihara Kozori-chan. Oh, that was her name, Orihara Kozori. On the stairs. The stairs? I saw her. Oh, that's so. Looks like I'll be right back. Misuken's voice gave off an aura of intense enthusiasm. I hadn't seen him this energetic since a few days ago when he found out that Fez was from the next classroom over. In other words, I'd never seen him give his all for anything except girls, which reminded me that just last week Misuken had already gone to hit on a transfer student at the moment she'd arrived. You really are incorrigible. What the fuck does that mean? Incorrigible. Of a person of their behaviour not able to be changed or reformed. He's an incorrigible liar. Oh, okay. You got a girlfriend and everything. I hope you're real proud. Hey, Kazuri-chan's seriously cute, don't you think? He asked me something I had trouble answering. I moved my head down ambiguously, which he apparently took as a yes. Alright, I fell for her at first sight. All I want to do is protect her. All the boys agree. Every one of them says she's cute. The girls, on the other hand, can't stand her. She's got a real low reputation with them, which is crazy since, like, she only just transferred. Despite that, though, they're all super quick to call her annoying or whatever else. This guy's got way too many girls with shit personalities. Isn't all that kind of your fault, Daichin? I mean, isn't the main person who's calling her annoying your girlfriend? Yeah, I guess. What's your point? My point is that of course she'd find her annoying. Any girl would be like that if they saw their boyfriend hitting on another girl right in front of them. Even I get into fights with her a whole bunch. She'd say stuff like, stay away from Daisuke-kun, and she's far from the only girl who's told me that. You serious? You don't even know. Would it kill you to do a little bit of self-reflection? Nah, it's just way too tough out here for a popular dude. And there it is. My fault for expecting anything different from you, the enemy of all women. I'm not going to cover for you anymore. You got that? Oh hey, Orihara-san's here. Wait, doesn't she kind of look hurt? You're right. I wonder what happened. She got hurt back when I saw her on the stairs. I obviously wasn't going to tell him that, though. I was trying to avoid talking to Rimi in any way possible. I'm going to go check on her real quick. Misukan ran up to where the transfer student was. Thanks to that, Rimi was the only one left standing to my desk. Misukan, please don't go. Let's have a good one for once. Rumi didn't say anything, but she didn't move away from my seat either, considering the fact that I was hunched over so far on my desk that I could nearly sink my teeth into it. I couldn't see her expression. All I could see was her waist, but if that were true, then that would mean she had to be facing me. In other words, she was looking at me. I should work up some courage and act natural. Morning, Sakihata-san. Yeah, good morning. Alright, first contact went well. But just then, when I started to feel relieved, Rimi tilted her head to the side with a frown. Hey, Taku, why are you talking to me all weird like that? Weird? Yeah, like Sakihata-san. Feels like kind of formal, you know. Just talk to me like you normally do. Like I normally did, but I don't even know what that was. Okay, Rimi. Yeah, what's up, Taku? Nothing much, really. Alrighty, then I've got something to tell you. Mimi cleared her throat, looked around the room, and then brought her face close to mine. Taku, you don't go and become like Daichin, alright? A playboy like him is bound to get hurt real badly someday. Oh, yeah, I'll keep that in mind. Cool. I really like how honest you are, Taku. She liked something about me. Huh. In other words, from Mimi's point of view, I was the honest, neutral character archetype. For starters, there's just one thing about Daichin that I absolutely can't stand. She talks to all these girls left and right, but he won't even as much as look at me. Isn't that so awful? Huh? You want him to hit on you? I guess that wasn't surprising. He was a total alpha in terms of looks, and he was fun to talk to. Even if you stuck him with a penalty for being a playboy, he'd probably still be the type any girl would like to go out with. But despite what I'd thought she was talking about, Mimi frowned and shook her head. Taku, that's a real mean joke. I get these real nasty chills all over just thinking about him hitting on me. She wrapped her arms around herself and made a big show out of pretending to shiver. Yeah, that's a no from me. But how do I put this? It's not like I don't have some pride as a girl, yeah? Hey Taku, what do you think about me? Am I attractive? Oh god, you're asking me something like that. That's a real hard to answer. What, am I? And it didn't help that her eyes were twinkling as she was clearly bursting with anticipation. That's, of course I thought she was attractive, but it'll take a lot of courage to say it out loud. No one likes to admit to them. What is that? Pink hair for the win. Playboy noted. Yeah, no. Short for the full quote, no one likes to admit to the mistakes they've made because of their youth. A quotation from an extremely popular mecha anime series, often followed up with the various lines about youth, such as that's what it is to be young. I don't know, is that like Gundam or some shit? 2 mistakes made because of youth. Gotcha. Mimi smiled triumphantly. She was actually an otaku? There was no way. I smiled a bitter smile in defeat. But even though the conversation was completely normal, I found myself having a lot of fun. Up until now, I almost never had this kind of conversation with a girl before. I didn't know why, but I felt like we clicked pretty well together. Which was why I was able to say what came next so naturally. No doubt about it. You're attractive, Rimi. What? What? Rimi exaggeratedly threw her head backwards and her face instantly turned beet red. When you say it to my face like that, I can't help but blush. But thanks, it really makes me happy to hear that you say that, Taku. Like 100 million trillion times happier than I would be if Daichin hit on me like that. There's no such thing as 100 million trillion, though. What do you mean there's not? I mean, not in that sense, but like, that number still exists if you write out the zeros. Oh, come on, you get the idea. It just tells you how big the happiness scale is. That was the delusion, by the way. Just to break it to you. So that's what it is to be young. If only I could have that kind of conversation daily. Every day of my life would be fun and fulfilling, and how I saw the world would change completely. But at the end of the day, that was just an illusion. So me in reality couldn't even make eye contact with me. I just kept my head down, didn't move, and stayed silent. I despised my own cowardice, and so I was hit with a fierce wave of depression. Oh, Taku. Rimi, who had been silent the entire time, finally called out to me, albeit hesitantly. But I couldn't respond due to how sudden it was. To her, it probably felt like I was ignoring her. In my head, I knew I couldn't keep acting like this, but in the end, I still couldn't get myself to do anything. Are you okay? This time I nodded frantically. It probably made me look pretty suspicious. Okay, glad to hear it. Rimi's voice was gentle. I could hardly believe it, but she seemed like she was going to continue patiently with me, even though I was being silent. Are you okay? That was what she'd said. I felt a sudden urge to ask her something. I wanted to ask, back when we met in front of 107, what did it look like to you? Considering the fact that she hadn't mentioned anything in particular, it seemed like she didn't know anything about the people temporarily disappearing from the streets of Shibuya, nor anything about the wheelchair-bound Shogun, which would probably mean it would just be one of my delusions after all. That's what I wanted to ask. But I didn't think I'd be able to look up and do so after all this time. Either way, I couldn't do it today. I couldn't even prepare myself to ask her. So next time, then, I'd ask her on the very next time I came to school. Yeah, I should probably organize the questions I wanted to ask her before then. Huh? Look, Taku, Arihara-san's coming this way. A transfer student? Why was she coming over here? Or was she going to come down on me for not helping her on the stairs earlier? But she didn't seem to like the type of person to do that. Or maybe she wasn't coming up to me, but she actually wanted to read me for something. The transfer student came up to Rimi, then stopped. She didn't say anything. What the hell? As long as Rimi was there, I couldn't raise my head. The transfer student's toes were fidgeting, but she still didn't try to say anything. Arihara-san, what's wrong? For some reason, the new student timidly then placed a single bandage on the edge of my desk. It was a fancy one with a picture of that weird character Gyro Froggy emblazoned on it. Was she giving it to me? How do I react? This Arihara Kazuri girl was kind of weird. Arihara-san, don't cry. What? Was she crying? Why was she crying? Was it because I didn't say anything? But the transfer student hasn't said anything to me either. I don't think Taku's mad or anything. Rimi swooped in to cover me. Come to think of it, that was a little bit odd. I didn't know next to anything about Rimi, and yet she still knew a lot about me. He just doesn't look people in the eye all that often. He's an introvert like that. So there's no need to be all shaky and nervous, okay? Huh? Are you giving me a band-aid too? Thank you. With that, the transfer student bowed her head deeply to Rimi, and then she sped her way back to her seat. It was almost like she was running away or something. I have no idea what just happened, but I think you should probably take the band-aid, Taku. Why is she giving it to me? Kazuri-chan got a few words, ain't she? I got the feeling Miss McKenna come back. I gave her a tour of the school on her first day. Oh wow, you were quick to get your hands on her. Hold on, I haven't done anything yet. Anyway, Anyways, on that tour we spent about an hour give or take running all over the place, and I was the only person talking the whole time. As you can imagine, I got pretty worn out. Oh yeah, and she's pretty quick to cry too. Yeah, she really is. She started crying out of nowhere just a second ago, so I got all freaked out trying to figure out what the heck even happened. Just goes to show how innocent she really is. Hey Taku, you get it, don't you? You know how cute everything she does is, don't you? If I were to put it in neat speak, she's moe as hell. What's up? You need to take a shit? I took my head from side to side as hard as I could. Taku, you haven't said a word for a real long time now. Yeah, that's because you're here. I wasn't ready for that. I had never talked to a friend who was also a girl and acting all friendly before. Then again, I'd never had a single female friend before. Throughout my entire life. Yo, what about the fucking, Yua? You were talking to Yua just fine. Sort of. When I tried to talk to Orihara-san, I was hit with this feeling. I just couldn't help but think. It kind of wore me out, I guess. Girls really are ruthless towards their own gender, huh? Then again, I'd be the one to protect her, so it doesn't really matter. Oh, come on. Didn't you say less than a minute ago that hanging around her wore you out, too? Shut it. Kazuri-chan gives off the same vibes as Taku. Makes me not want to leave him alone if I can help it, you know? I guess I sort of understand that. Alright, gonna go buy dinner for my family, have fun. Alright, thanks for hanging out, dude. Appreciate it. Have a good rest of your day. See you around soon, hopefully. Sound of the bell told me that all classes were done for the day. The second it went off, I packed up my things, got up from my desk, and left the classroom. I couldn't stand the subtle distance I felt between me and Rimi for a second longer, so I wanted to get out of the classroom ASAP. Besides, I always had to stop by Mandarake today. In the end, I hadn't been able to say a single word to Rimi. I had several chances to talk to her, but just like this morning, I kept my mouth locked shut the entire time. I might have screwed up by doing that. It would make it even more difficult to talk to her the next time I saw her. I was sinking deeper and deeper into the thick swamp that was trying to figure out how the hell to act around Rimi. Ah, big bro. Just as I was about to leave the school building, I was hit with the voice of a certain irritating person. Nanami came running up to me, holding a trash can in her hand. She must have been in the middle of taking it out. Unfortunately for me, this bitch had stopped me. I tried to ignore it and speed my way out of there, but just like normal, Nanami refused to let that happen. The hem of my uniform was pulled tightly from behind. How many times do I have to tell you not to run away from me? What do you want? Don't give me that. Don't you realize I have to chase after you whenever you run away? It's kind of annoying. Okay, then don't chase after me if you don't need something. You haven't been calling at home at all, which is nothing new, but whatever. I would have given up on trying to get you to do it. I doubt you ever will at this point. Oh, she actually understood me for once. Then again, I didn't know how she wouldn't be my sister at all, even though I had no need in the slightest for a 3D one. So that's why I'm gonna have to keep on coming to your room every now and then to check up on you. You should be grateful. Damn it, of course I'd come to this. If only I could somehow be freed from the curse of my obnoxious little sister. Hell, even though it never happened, I at least deserve some sort of compensation for putting up with her. I thought about that kind of thing daily. Oh, that was it. That was my chance to put my plan from earlier into action. If I was lucky, it might even work as a modest form of revenge. I checked my surroundings and then started to walk towards the courtyard, signaling for Nanami to follow me. Huh? What is it? Just come with me. Why? What's going on? She was so unbelievably annoying. She was incapable of following me or something. What a fucking idiot. Nanami, I have an important favor to ask you. Huh? A favor? From you? Nanami's eyes went wide. Wow, that doesn't happen often. You never ask me to do stuff. Just shut up and follow me. Wait up. There weren't many people in the courtyard. During lunchtime, the place was always crowded with students eating lunch, but the only people who would only bother coming here after school were the gardening club or whatever. Okay, so what's the favor? Nanami lowered the trash can. She was carried to the ground and then gave a big grin as she puffed out her chest. Oh, but I've got one condition. You've got to treat me to McDonald's afterwards. As long as you do that, I'll do whatever you want, even though I don't really want to. God, every little goddamn thing she said pissed me off. I couldn't believe she actually wanted me to pay her back for this. Didn't help that I already treated her at McDonald's before. Ugh, forget it. Fine, I'll treat you. Really? Wow, you're like a totally different person today. Well, yeah, because I was lying. Source of being a liar. Lol. And with that, I handed Nanami my cell phone. I then asked her to call the prank caller whose number was stored in my cell phone history. You want me to call a number off your history? Who are they? Someone I know from online. Nanami was tilting her head with a suspicious expression on her face, so I quickly told a lie that would seem plausible to her. So, why am I doing it? You know, if you call them... You're not plotting something, are you? Oh my god, shut the fuck up! All you have to do is shut up and do what I say. If you can't do that, then just go home. I have no use for you. Fine, then I won't ask you to do it. I went to snatch back the cell phone. Nanami pulled her hand back and evaded me. Oh, okay, I'll call them. That's what I have to do, right? You really are selfish, you know. Yeah, you should talk. Choking back my anger, I watched the bated breath of Nanami's dialed the number in question. Nanami, blissfully unaware, put a cell phone to her ear and waited for them to answer. I noticed that on the hand she was holding her cell phone with, she was wearing a yellow bangle. That was the one that I'd given her, wasn't it? Then again, it was more something she decided to appropriate rather than actually me given to her. She even wore it when she went to school. Did she really like it that much? Even though it was just some cheap-ass bangle I got for free. Nanami really did have no taste at all. Not that I could really speak for anyone else, though. This didn't matter at all right now. Anyways, who was going to answer the phone? Would it be some scary Dokun piece of garbage? Best case scenario, it'd just be a prank and had nothing to do with Shogun or Yua. Hello? Someone must have picked up, so Nanami called out and covered the receiver with her hand. I knew to raise an eyebrow soon after, then she thrust the phone back in my direction. Big bro. What? Don't give me what? It's saying the number's not in use right now. What? I snatched the phone away from Nanami and put it to my ear. And what I heard was, reach the number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service. If you feel like you have reached the recording error, please check. She was right. I guess that really meant it had been a prank, huh? It was a prank where you killed a bunch of random numbers simultaneously over a couple of days, and when the prank was over, both the number and the phone were destroyed, or something like that. Either way, it was a pretty large-scale prank, but meh, didn't matter to me either way. I knew now that the mysterious call had been nothing more than a prank, and nothing else mattered anymore. Okay, what the heck was up with that? I don't need you anymore. What? Leaving Nanami standing there, I started to walk off, but it didn't take long for her to chase me. Wait just a second, what was that all about? Just shut up already. You were taking out the trash, weren't you? You left the trash can over there. Oh, right. But you still haven't told me what's going on. I'm going home. Without dealing with Nanami, I walked quickly to the school gate with her right on my tail. Fine, just remember you promised to treat me to McDonald's. You better not forget. Like I care. Hey, did you lie to me? Maybe. Nanami stopped riding her tracks, looking pretty upset, but I kept right on moving. You big jack! She yelled out in a loud enough voice that echoed throughout the entire area. Fed up with her, I went to turn around and saw her glaring at me with her hands on her hips. A jerk like you should get their brains shriveled up by a cell phone radiation and die. Shit, thanks to Nanami's screeching, more eyes were looking our way, even though I made it a point to stand out as little as possible at school. My sister was the most obnoxious shithead of all time. Not giving a damn about what Nanami had said, I read off towards the school gate. It was best to retreat in times like this. Jack! Nanami's voice could still be heard after I passed throughout the school gate, making me feel completely and utterly drained. Higashi Matsuyama was one of my favourite artists. They were ultra famous and their fans would always form long lines at every one of their events. I'd heard that the new Bloodtoon Doujinshi that had come out this summer had sold out in no time flat. I wanted to go too, but all the events where it was being sold at had been way too crowded, to the point where it would have been too much for me. Because of that, I found myself tearfully giving up. I'd been naive of me to think that Mandarake would be safe just because they had consignment sales. There had indeed been some consignment sales, but they had been annihilated in practically an instant. Various online auctions, the premium price was set at tens of thousands a year, and all scalpers should die in a fire. Do true. Regardless, with all that in mind, I thought that it would probably be impossible to get my hands on it. However, just yesterday while I've been surfing Ant Channel, I just so happened to see that a new issue had been recently restocked at Mandarake, which was why I'd headed for it immediately. God, please, grant me a miracle. I prayed to the heavens in front of the store, and then I stormed inside. I scanned the doujinshi section with eyes as wide as dinner plates. I went back and forth down the aisle, searching over and over again to make sure I didn't miss anything. But I couldn't find it. No, was it already sold out? I casually observed the cashier. It was a girl. She wasn't very cute, but she did seem friendly. I never even once used that hyper-advanced technique known as asking the clerk about whether or not they had a certain item in stock. The reason was, of course, that I didn't have the courage to do so. And not only that, but the title of Higashi Matsuyama's new book was Sarah Tan, Cosplayer Gone Wild. So yeah, asking about that was completely and utterly impossible. Excuse me, miss, but do you have a copy of Higashi Matsuyama's Sarah Tan, Cosplayer Gone Wild? If I asked a female clerk something like that, I'd no doubt be labelled as a pervert. I knew that for a fact. Thank you very much. In the end, I simply gave up asking the clerk for anything. I exited the store dejectedly. Guess I'll go home. Or maybe I should get at Cafe. Flipping between the two as I walked, a sword I had seen before flashed past the edge of my vision. It was a sword with a distinctive two-pronged blade, the one that girl B, the girl who called herself Senna, had been carrying around the city. In that crowded center guy, the tip of the sword jutted above the heads of people walking down the street. As it got closer to me, I hurriedly took refuge in a nearby arcade. When I peered out from the shadows, it didn't take long for Senna herself to appear, the sword resting on her shoulder. Wearing the expression that was just as terrifying as ever, she walked quickly towards the station. She didn't seem to have noticed me. But even then, after having experienced the humiliation play that was lugging around a sword just like hers, the bold way that Senna walked around without a care in the world impressed me. Was she not embarrassed to hold a huge sword like that? I mean, she had even been questioned by a police officer at least once. No way she hadn't. As I pondered that, Senna's figure got further and further away. Where do they sell badass dice swords like the one she has, I wondered. The one I gotten a hold of didn't glow, nor did it have a badass shape, so I wasn't exactly satisfied with it. In comparison to the sword Senna was carrying, mine was far less impressive in terms of design. The entire reason behind me getting the D sword was to use it as a protective charm. Back at the Scramble Crossing, I'd be trembling in fear and wished for something I could rely on. After Remy showed up, I'd become slightly more stable, but the situation surrounding me was not getting any better. I still had a lot of enemies, such as Shogun, Yura, etc. There was a reason why I wanted to get my hands on the D sword that looked way stronger than the one I actually had. Of course, there was also the collective spirit found in every otaku. As if drawn to Senna's sword, I'd been staggering over towards Scramble Crossing without realizing it. Oh god, I bit my lip. I didn't want to be out in front of the station. I would reluctantly go to Center Guy or school or whatever because I had to think that I had to do that, but if I could help it, I preferred not going anywhere near them. Having a crowd of total strangers stand around me made me feel as if any escape route had just been stolen away, and just the illusion of that made it hard to breathe. Unsurprisingly, the front of the area in front of the station was infested with people. I was starting to feel more and more sick, so I opted to look down at the ground and try to hold back the nausea a bit. Because of that, next time I looked up, I'd realized I'd lost sight of the conspicuous sword. I'd looked like they had been walking towards the Hachiko statue, but right then, the light above Scramble Crossing turned green. A sea of people rushed into the intersection from various directions. It became pretty chaotic. A whole host of people walking every which way, and they did it without even so much as bumping into each other. When I saw something like that, I realized how unrealistic the empty Scramble Crossing I'd seen in my delusion the other day really was. There probably wasn't even a single second in the entire year where there was no people in this place. What was I even trying to accomplish by chasing after Senna in the first place? I hadn't even been able to ask the friendly Mandarake employer whether they'd had something in stock, so how exactly was I supposed to talk to someone who looked unfriendly and scary looking like Senna? Besides, she might have been my enemy. I didn't know what she'd do to me if I carelessly followed her without any form of protection. What was wrong with me? I should just go home. I finally decided on that, but right when I was about to turn around... Oh. I noticed a white chain lying down on the street. I couldn't see the end of it because it was concealed by the legs of various pedestrians, but it seemed to be stretching from where I was standing all the way to the other side of Scramble Crossing. What the hell? It was a ridiculously long white chain. Was it from construction or something? There was no evidence of construction going on anywhere. I couldn't believe they left a chain lying around like this. Was this a location where they were shooting for some movie or TV show? No, they wouldn't be filming at a time as crowded as this. Okay, then did someone throw it away? A chain this long? It'd already been hard enough just to bring it out this far. Regardless, it was definitely going to get in the way of people on cars. Turned my head in confusion, I examined my surroundings to see how many people were actually reacting to it. I thought it'd be dangerous if someone caught their leg on it, but not a single person was paying any attention to it. I rubbed my eyes and tried to look at it one more time, thinking that it might be an optical illusion or something, but the chain was still there. I didn't have the courage to touch it, though. It creeped me out too much. It wasn't a cheap-looking plastic one. It was an extremely sturdy-looking iron chain. How long had this thing been sitting here? If these were normal circumstances, I think it was some kind of trap. After which, I would have run away in fear, suspecting that something terrifying might have been waiting for me. But now, for whatever reason, I couldn't help but wonder where the chain led. My mind was overtaken by a compulsive obsession that told me to follow this chain. I crossed the Scramble Crossing before the light turned red, bumping into several pedestrians as I did. At the end of the continuous chain was an old dark green train car that was sitting next to a Hachiko statue. The wheels had been removed, so it was closer to a monument or an exhibit rather than a functional train car. You were supposed to be able to enter it freely too. The white train was extended from the open door to the inside of the train. There were tons of people parked in front of Hachiko, but not one paying any attention to the chain. They didn't show any signs that they were even aware of it. As well as that, there was no signs of any people on the train at all. With a guard I peered inside the train car. Ah, in that moment, I realized it was a trap. I couldn't believe it myself, which was why I hadn't suspected it at all before. The car appeared to be empty, but there was the figure of a single person inside. Iris Senna was sitting cross-legged on a burgundy train seat. Her sharp gaze was fixed firmly on me. For some reason, she was holding a light blue popsicle in her hand. That was a crunchy gun, right? Forget it, I couldn't care less about crunchy coons right now. More importantly, the gigantic D-sword she had been carrying was mysteriously nowhere to be found. I wondered where she had even managed to put the thing, how huge it was after all. It's so good. In place of the D-sword was white chain coiling around one of her legs, which reminded me that back then I'd first met her in Center Guy. She had said something about finding her in a train car in front of the station. This must have been what she meant. What? Was she the one who picked the chain here? Could she really have been lugging around such a long chain? It looked like it weighed over 10 kilos, and not only that, but it had to have been over 50 meters long. I had no idea what was up with this girl. She had entirely unknown to me. She wasn't normal. Could she be a Shogun? Feeling scared now, you already know who Shogun is, right? Feeling scared now, I moved to run away without saying anything, only for a sharp voice to strike me right then. Come in. I was about to stop dead in my tracks. Thoughts ran through my head frantically. If I ran away, what would she do? Would she swing out the sword at me while she chased me? When I tried to envision it happening, it freaked me out way too much, so I hurriedly shook the delusion out of my head. Conversely, what if I were just to walk straight in instead? She would get a much better impression of me, and maybe she wouldn't be as violent. Maybe she'd even be in a good enough mood that she'd be interested in selling her D-sword to me. I didn't think that she'd just give it up that easy, but maybe I could at least get her to tell me where she'd bought it from. On top of that, she seemed to have been waiting for me. In other words, that means she'd taken some sort of interest in me. She looked scary, but as well as often the case with Sundari type, she might have actually been pretty nice in reality. That could have been wishful thinking, though. Then again, it wasn't like I was going to be cold just because I went inside. Surely that was true. We were right in the middle of Shibuya after all, right in front of the Hachikyo statue. There was tons of people surrounding us. Killing me in public in front of all of them would have been suicide. I took a single deep breath, gathered my resolve, and then I stepped into the train. Huh? I suddenly realised. The bundle of chain that had been at Sen's feet just a moment ago had disappeared without a trace. I thought that she moved it somewhere, but there had been no sound to indicate that, and she was still sitting on the same seat that had been sitting on the entire time. Even if she had moved it, where the hell had she moved it to? I didn't see it anywhere on the train. Where was the error? Sarah, completely unconcerned with how lost I was, asked me something unintelligible yet again. You told me, so I'm assuming you found one. As I shook my head left and right in confusion, Senna's expression became increasingly stern. She then evidently looked away from me, let out a small sigh, and then took a bite of a popsicle. Freed from her sharp gaze, I nearly sunk down to the floor once again. Talk about looks like a kill. I would have sat down on one of the seats if I could have, but when I realised that she might have said something to me if I did, I couldn't bring myself to. I knew you were following me. You saw the error I created, didn't you? What are you talking about? The chain. The white chain. If that was what she meant, then yeah, I'd seen it. I'd followed the weird thing all the way here after all. But I don't know where it is. It disappeared. I made it disappear. It was my delusion after all. Delusion? What was she talking about? Then what about the sword? You have one, don't you? Excuse me? No, I don't have one. How could I? This wasn't going well. I could barely get a word out. More importantly, who are you? Seems like you can see. What? Said a glance at me, then jerked her chin towards the window. What do you see outside this window? People. Lots of people. I felt like there was even more people than before. Felt like I was going to get a headache just from looking at them. There were people with their heads glued to their cell phones, people smiling over phone calls, people standing and staring at the stream of people, practically everything I saw out the window, and people standing around waiting for other people. I mean, if there were so many people here, why hadn't anyone come into the train since I had gotten on? Do you believe that there's a perfect world out there? There isn't. There can't be. Errors will always exist. Because everything, people included, is an electronic device. What kind of chuny plotline was that? So aside, I also thought about similar things pretty often. I wasn't trying to say that chuny plotlines were bad or anything. After all, the world was overflowing with books, movies, and anime that were nothing but chuny insanity. Why was it that a writer or a movie director or whoever else come up with chuny plotlines like that? And it was all well and good, but when amateurs like me did it, everyone made fun of us. The world's greats had all been Chunibyo's. Just think about that. The Wright brothers had genuinely thought that they could fly through the sky 100 years ago. Napoleon boasted that the word impossible is not in my dictionary. The word impossible is not in my dictionary. That was why Chunibyo's weren't something to be mocked. It was the path of all the world's greats had taken. But my question was, why had this girl suddenly started spouting all this Junie shit at me? It isn't what you're seeing, it's what's being shown to you. People acquire information from outside the body by utilizing the 5 senses, but about 80% of the information we receive comes from sight. The images obtained from sight are converted into impulses, signals that are then sent to the brain via the optic nerve. Just like a telephone. I thought to myself absent-mindedly. The telephone converted your voice into electrical signals and then sent that information to a distant location. A telephone, huh? You could say it's similar to that. Has she just run my mind? No, there was no way. Had I been mumbling to myself without realizing it again? Do you know what VR technology is? Holy shit. Was VR back in 2008? Oh, virtual reality? Of course, I didn't actually answer out loud. Visual rebuilding. Huh, I was wrong. I never thought of that. It's a technology currently being researched in the field of psychophysiology in America. With this technology, even those who had been blind from birth will be able to accurately view anything that the eyes can naturally perceive. This is made possible by using video equipment such as video cameras. That look on your face tells me you're wondering how exactly, but the way it works is simple. Images provide both by a video camera, and the nerve impulses traveling to the brain are both essentially electrical signals. And in short, all that's needed for the brain to interpret those images is technology that can convert the signals into nerve impulses. There have already been successful tests to the point where the research team behind it have already obtained a patent for it. It was patented? Seriously? I thought that it was just a fairly hardcore delusion with an impressive amount of depth and detail behind it, but claiming there was a full-on patent was taking it way too far. Something can be inferred from the patent. Patent? Stella, who had been looking out the window the whole time, turned to face me. She slowly crossed her legs. If it's possible to convert specific information into nerve impulses, wouldn't it be possible to control all 5 of the senses, and even the free will of people itself? Even though it was right in front of Shibuya Station, it was strangely quiet on the train. It felt as if it had been deprived of sound itself. It was obviously an illusion, but I couldn't help but remember the delusion I had had several days ago of the deserted Shibuya. As I thought about it, I couldn't take my eyes off the crowd moving outside the window. Like I said before, people are electronic devices. And I don't mean just the brain either. The entire body has nerves with electricity running through them. In other words, even our bodies and actions can be controlled as well. Theoretically, that is. This girl. I was taken aback. This girl was even more delusional than both me and you are combined. What was she saying? Sounded logical. It was clearly a total pipe dream. In fact, the research team that had acquired the patent is shifting their research in that very direction. The content was so dangerous that the President of the United States issued a memorandum to try and prevent any further research. How much of what she was saying was actually true? It said, "No agency shall conduct or support classified human research without having proposed and promulgated the common rule." A United States policy clearly defined and regulated research involving human subjects. Installed in 1981, the full title is the Federal Policy for the Protection of Human Subjects. The policy states that all institutions performing experiments involving human subjects must abide by a specific set of rules, such as obtaining information, informed consent, properly recording findings, and complying with authority, be it a federal department, agency, or institutional review board. In later subparts, additional protections are provided for pregnant women, children, fetuses, and prisoners. Okay. Senna looked downwards and clasped her hand, resting on her knees tightly. But the world is full of nothing but corrupt factions. Factions that have no regard for morality and will sacrifice others without a second thought for their own personal gain. It makes me sick. After she finished voicing her disgust, she stuck the last chunk of the nearly melted crunchy cone in her mouth and then suddenly stopped. I reflectively started to shrink back, only to run into the wall behind me. Ignorance is a sin. People claimed ignorance is bliss, but that's simply naive. Doubt the word. Study its mechanisms. The world is imperfect. She was coming towards me. Thinking she might hit me, I tried to steer my face with my arm, but in the end she slipped right past me without doing anything. Is the scenery your eyes perceive truly real? Without looking at me, she murmured that as we passed each other, and then she promptly exited the train by herself. I stared at the window as she walked away. Without looking back at me even once, she quickly disappeared into a sea of people. In the end, I had absolutely no clue as to what she had been trying to tell me. The only thing I took from it was that Senna despised the world, typical Chunibyo. From my point of view, though, it sucked ass to have her to shoot her poisonous dead bullshit at me without even letting me get a word in. Her voice and her tone of voice alone had made me feel like I was being lectured. The way she talked was often a mirror characteristic when it came to 2D, but in reality it only served to make her feel even more like a total dokin. But the fact that she hadn't attacked me was a relief. A surprise considering that for some reason she always gave the aura that she was just raring to slap anyone and everyone. Lol. I wanted to take a breather after so I sat down on the seat where Sana had been sitting before. Immediately following that, a Dokyun-looking couple suddenly came into the car. After that came a trio of people that were obviously Dokyun Kyogaras. I don't know what that is. A Japanese fashion. Oh, it's a guy. Okay, so what's the Kyo thing? Less extreme types such as Kyogos, which simply involve wearing school uniforms with very short skirts. Oh, okay. And then an older middle-aged man, and then a young businessman wearing a suit. The train car had become claustrophobic in the blink of an eye. Before Senna left, no one even tried to enter the car, so where the hell had they all come from? The voices of Dokin people and the Kogaras were way too loud, so I quickly got out of there whilst telling them all to go to hell in my head. B.O.B. So yeah, that's how I ended up getting tangled up with the IRL Chuny chick. Okay, yeah, so this time you have pissed me off. Oh no! Seriously, Lord Nighthawk, you're always saying shit like, oh, I don't give a fuck about 3D, but you've been getting real nice and close with a bunch of 3D girls recently, haven't you? You even said earlier that one of them broke into your house. I don't care who you ask, that's straight out of an air gay. You've plunged straight into your once-in-a-lifetime chance to be popular. Alright, listen well. I'd admit that I have indeed amassed quite the number of opportunities to speak with cute females. However, every single IRL one is a fucking mental case. You try being on the receiving end of their brain melting Demper attacks. The sheer scale of schizo is legitimately horrifying. Okay, I truly am sorry, Denko. Don't worry about it, Denko. Even after I got back home, I'd still been somewhat interested in what Senna told me. Of course, I didn't think that what she said was true, but I was pretty sure that I'd be able to confirm it for myself if I did a little bit of research into the pattern and the memorandum specifically. So with Grimm's help, I started searching the internet. I also was able to get one of Grimm's friends who lived in America to help us out as well. But even with all that help, I still didn't think we were going to find anything. In that day and age, you couldn't trust anyone without a source. Yo, I just got a message from Shio. Shio was a friend of Grimm that I'd mentioned earlier. He lived in America and spoke fluent English. Let me guess. BS, right? That stupid fucking mental case. She had to have just been making a fool out of us because she didn't think I could understand English. Don't underestimate the power of the internet. Mic drop. It exists, apparently. Huh? It exists? What did? The guy went out of his way to tell it to us. Anyways, let me up it. Is this just more bait? No, man, you don't trust me at all, do you, Lamau? Although that's probably my fault for being an ass most of the time. Okay, then how about I invite Shiho instead? Could it actually be real? I've been tricked by Grimm several times in the past. If I trusted him like I usually did, he hit me with something so bad it will make my brain blue screen. But he was saying that he was going to invite Shio, then he'd even have a source for us. If this is just you baiting me again, I'll kick you out of the guild. KK, trust me on this once. Trust me just this once. He was being surprisingly confident. Maybe it really was okay to trust him this time. Damn it, I'm such an easy target. Slightly nervous, I squinted my eyes halfway shut to protect myself from seeing anything too quickly or too clearly and clicked the link. Oh, what is this? Oh. That is kind of weird how similar it is to Steins Gate in some ways. Orbitofrontal cortex, remote view. Signal to noise ratio, prefrontal lobotomy. Prefrontal lobotomy, thermolysis. Mitochondria University. Oh shit, it's the same university. What the fuck? Oh, that's sick. Mitochondria. Was that's the one where Kurasa Maho was? Oh god, I wish I could read that. One day we at Victor Condria University Psychophysiology lab discovered that the electrical signals and utilized by various devices share incredibly similarities with those of the brain. Firstly, cell phones. Cell phones operate by converting voice input into data and then sending that data to the receiver via electrical signals, which is this case are transmitted by cell towers. Text-based data is also distributed in this manner. A similar mechanism occurs in video cameras. Images captured by a video camera are transferred via electrical signals to the camera screen or some other external device, which the receiver can then use to view the data. When it comes to the brain's visual system, the body takes the visual information captured by the eye's photoreceptors and transfers said information via nerve impulses, which then travel along the optic nerve to the brain's occipital lobe. Once it reaches that location, the information can be viewed. This brings us to VR. Despite the name, it does not refer to virtual reality, but to a technology we authored known as virtual rebuilding. Our goal with VR is to aid those who have been deeply inconvenienced by blindness or other visual afflictions. With this technology, even those who have been blind from birth will be able to accurately view anything with the eyes, which that eyes can naturally perceive. This is made possible by using video equipment such as video cameras. As pointed before, images provided by a video camera and the nerve impulses traveling through the brain are both essentially electrical signals. Thus, all that is needed for the brain to interpret those images is technology and can convert the signals into nerve impulses and that technology into VR. In conclusion, by utilizing virtual rebuilding, we can convert video data into nerve impulses, which can be then used to establish sight. We at Mitochondria University have already visited several other universities and scientific organizations in order to present our findings, and upon being met with glowing reception, we appealed for a patent. Many were very excited at how promising it was for the future of the visually impaired, and some even went as to theorize that those with access to exceptionally expensive video equipment would perhaps be able to obtain vision surpassing human limitations. We have already had many successful tests with the technology, and we continued our research over our patent was accepted. Holy fuck, that was hard to read. I got like a headache now. It was a document written in English with a bunch of strange diagrams on the lower half. Part of it looked like a human face. The headline read United States patent. I knew that much at least. In other words, this was an actual US patent. Do you know what VR technology is? There have already been successful tests to the point where the research team behind it had already obtained a patent for it. It was real. I went to open one of the 2 text files that had become bundled with it. One of them had a series of news articles that seemed to mention the patent, all of which was translated into Japanese. One said that the Physiology Research Laboratory of America's Victor Contra University is currently researching a groundbreaking invention known as visual rebuilding. As if the goal of the research was primarily for healthcare, it had been gaining the attention of visually impaired people from all over the world. It was groundbreaking technology that enabled people who were blind from birth to see the scenery in front of them through video cameras and other imaging devices. To put it simply, this was done by converting signals, the ones that composed the image data that the video camera received, into the only signal the brain could recognize, electrical signals known as nerve impulses. These are then transported to the brain via the optic nerve. There had already been successful tests, and the patent had already been registered. This was actually approved. So, did that mean that what Senna had said wasn't just some puny delusion? I gulped and then went to the other text file. I began reading. Presidential Documents Memorandum of March 27, 1997 strengthens protections for human subjects of classified research. The agencies shall jointly propose to prohibit waiver of informed consent for classified research, part of it said. To agree to any form of contract under the condition of being provided the correct information in Japan is primarily used in the medical field. A physician explains the treatment to the patient truthfully, in detail, and in an easy understood manner. This includes the definition of the treatment as well as its side effects, success rate, risks, costs, alternative treatments, etc. Once the patient fully understands these, they are able to provide consent. Fair enough. Beginning 1 year after the date of this memorandum, no agency shall conduct or support classified human research without having proposed and promulgated the common rule, said another. The document was then signed at the bottom by William J. Clinton and then closed the White House, Washington, March 27, 1997, a memorandum of the President of the United States. The content sounded like the premise of a movie or something, but so I never would have actually thought it was actually real. I went to check the original document via the URL, even I could read English for the most part. Despite how I might have looked, I was a lot smarter than those documents that went to school every day. The actual contents written in the document were the same as translated text. Which means, Senna's words echo back in my mind. If it's possible to convert specific information into nerve impulses, wouldn't it be possible to control all 5 of the senses and even the free will of people itself? It was starting to get somewhat difficult to understand at this point, but what Senna had told me, combined with the sources we found online that backed her up, it all sent chills down my spine. I had a feeling that something terrible was lurking within, but what confused me the most was what Senna's true intentions were in telling me all this. Did it have anything to do with me? The part about being able to control people's free will definitely felt something I couldn't dismiss as anybody else's problem, because there was the possibility that I was a sleepwalker. On the day of the 3rd New Gen incident, the crucifixion, I had been told that I had been posted in a chat room as Shogun. Apparently I'd posted to him at Cafe too, but I had no memory of any of it. And not only that, but I had absolutely no memory of Rimi too. We had been classmates for over a year, and we had been close enough to hang out on multiple occasions, yet I have no memory of any of it. Maybe I had done all these things while I was being manipulated by some other being. Besides, I was terrible at talking to 3D girls to begin with, so there was no way I would be able to talk to I'd be close to a cute girl like Rebe normally. No, I was thinking too hard about this. At the very least, I knew that the chat thing was just one of Yua's delusions. Shogun was a separate entity for me. He was trying to entrap me, and it didn't go beyond that. This was true regardless of whether or not he had actually been the old man in the wheelchair that had appeared in front of me at 107. Maybe Senna too was one of Shogun's underlings. Maybe she was trying to just trying to deceive me. Don't just blindly accept everything without questioning it. Don't trust a suspicious girl that you don't actually know. Senna and Yua were both of the same breed. That's how it should go, right, Saratan? Very interesting. I haven't seen her for a little while. The only sound present in the room was the distinct clacking of a keyboard. Kusunoki Yua's thin, supple fingers moved over as if they were dancing, her gaze fixed on the monitor all the while. Her touch typing was effortless, and she made it next to no typos. She was writing an email. A very long one at that. Yua had already been writing for almost half an hour, endlessly deliberating over the contents of the email and making frequent revisions as she continued to type. Suddenly her fingers stopped moving. With a small pained sigh, she abruptly pressed and held down the backspace key. The cursor that was lit up on the monitor began scrolling leftward at high speed. All of those long sentences she had written so far disappeared nearly instantaneously as the cursor traveled across the screen. When all of the contents had been erased, you took hold of the Geofroggy stuffed animal lying on the bed and hugged it tightly to her chest. Oh, I reckon that's Ergo Proxy, actually. Ergo Proxy looks like that, right? So when all of the contents had been erased, oh, okay, sorry about that. This was a habit that you had developed recently. If she did not hug something in this way, she would be faced with unbearable anxiety. Burying her chin in the stuffed animal, Yua sighed once again and shook her head softly. Please, give me the courage to do this, murmuring softly to no one in particular. Yua's expression stiffened. With the stuffed animal resting on her lap, she returned her hand to the keyboard. Within the monitor, each letter she typed in a fluid manner was quickly displayed in sequence. Compared to the ones she had erased just moments before, this email was far more short and simple. It only served to provide the bare necessities of what she needed to convey. When she finished writing, you hesitated for a moment, and then she resolutely clicked on the send icon. Ah, I sent it. Before she could stop it from going through, the email had already been sent in the blink of an eye. Gio greeted Jira Froggy, sitting on her lap tightly, and continued to stare at the monitor in front of her for over an hour. Although she had not been expecting one, there was no sign of a reply at all. Maybe I should have looked at that. There it was, in my beloved room 37. As I sank down into the recliner, I started chewing on my nails in an attempt to distract myself from my irritation. There was a reason why I'd come to At Cafe 2 days in a row, yesterday and today. 2 nights ago, after Grim, Shiho, and I had found out what Senna had said was true, I received an email from Yua. So, we're just having a bit of a time skip there. Oh, okay. She was emailing him. Okay. In it, she insolently said that she wanted to talk to me one more time. Fuck off, I wanted to tell her. Fuck off, meat. What the hell did she mean she wanted to talk? After deceiving me like that, I had nothing to say to her. Even if I did, she'd probably just come up with some new fancy way to trap me when I want to see her, as if I can risk that. It was true that I wasn't used to talking to girls. That was why I'd been so happy back when Yua was hitting on me. And yet, the harlot had been toying with me behind my back. And on top of that, she had come up with all those insane delusions. Even I had delusions, sure, but I had never bothered anyone else with it. But that girl assaulted me with her schizo bullshit that treated me like I was new gen culprit. I could never forgive what she'd done to me. Never. So I ignored her email, but there had still been one thing that concerned me. In her email, she said that she was going to come by my base, and I knew for a fact that she knew my address. That was why I decided to take refuge in Atkelly, despite it not being a school day. If I had the option, I would have bought my D-sword as a protection charm, but unlike Senna, I didn't have the courage to walk down and go with it. At any rate, spending almost half a day in an internet cafe was fairly tiring. The recliners were comfortable, and it was equipped with showers, but I still couldn't fully relax like I could at my base. And then the biggest problem of all, Saratan wasn't here. After 2 days spent holed up in a cafe, I just realized how much the mere presence of Saratan helped me. I wanted to hurry up and get back to my base as soon as possible, but going back late at night would mean the date would change. And by that time, the last train would already be gone. I figured that you are most likely wouldn't be waiting for me anymore by then. I had to stick around for another 4 hours before the clock would strike midnight. I was sure time would go by a lot faster if I played ESO. Well, BRB. Let me move my gaze over to the PC monitor. Bummy. My second character, Lisa-Lot, was standing there aimlessly, not moving. Is the scenery your eyes perceive truly real? Senna's words came to mind. More than half of what she said was true. The only thing I couldn't find a source for was the part where she was talking about controlling other people's wills and bodies. Maybe that part was just a delusion of hers. Mixing in just a... that smell? Mixing in just a few lies with the truth was a clever and effective way to scare people, especially with threats. Even though my reasonable side knew all that, I couldn't help but feel scared as I thought about all the strange, inexplicable phenomena that have been plaguing me over the past few weeks. In the days I looked at Lieselot on the screen. Lieselot, is the scenery your eyes perceive truly real? Keeping my voice low to avoid being overheard, I whispered that absent-mindedly. I'd thought about something like this several times in the past. The world that I was looking at right now, Bayside, was the world that Lieselot lived in. It might have been real for her, but from my perspective, it was fake, which meant that the world that I lived in was seen as fake from the point of view of the person not controlling me. However, just as Lieselot can perceive me as a higher being, I also can perceive the person controlling me as a higher being. I wonder if Lieselot was thinking the same thing as I was thinking. At the very least, she couldn't move on her own. I had to interfere in order for her to move. So, what about me? Maybe I too couldn't get up from this recliner without the interference of some person controlling me. They could at least like change the background of this than to the actual game. To test this, I tried to stand up. I did it with ease. After that, I tried sitting down. It took an effort. But the sequence of events, was it really of my own volition? Or was it the result of someone's interference? I had no way of knowing. Huh? I heard the sound of the partition door to the private room being opened behind me, and at the same time, I felt someone come in. Startled, I turned around. Oh my god, that scared me. Kusunoki Yua. I was so terrified I was about to scream. Uh-oh, but Yua's hand quickly covered my mouth. Her hand was hot and the scent of Yua's sweat infiltrated my nose. Be quiet. Don't make a sound. Promise not to make a sound. Will you promise me? You better not say otherwise. Promise me. You'll do it, won't you? Do it. Please. I'm interested to see what's actually going to happen. In this small private room, the only way out was blocked by Yua. The next thing I knew, my shoulders were being held down by such incredible force I couldn't even get up from the seat. Yua's cold gaze pierced through me at point-blank range. I couldn't help but look away, and my eyes fell on the 3 gyro froggies attached to the bag she was carrying on her shoulder. All right? Don't make a sound. What do I do now? What should I do? I tried desperately to think of a way out of the situation, but it was no use. I couldn't think clearly. She had taken me completely by surprise. My mind had gone completely blank. I went to your house yesterday, but you weren't there. Even so, I waited there until late at night. But I understand how you feel. Why you were trying to avoid me. I really do. I deceived you, Nishijou-kun. If you acknowledge that, then just stay away from me. I have nothing to do. Dude, I love this fucking crazy sax in the back. I have nothing to say to any of Shogun's underlings. Anyone who traps a weak person like me as a demon. You looked down on me. She looked like she was hesitating to say something, but then, after a moment, she very clearly said a single phrase. Whose eyes are those eyes? You know it, don't you? You can't pretend otherwise. It was the dying message from the vampires case. It's been all over the internet. It's a phrase that's incredibly popular throughout Shibuya. But even before it's popular, I knew about it. There was a person using that phrase even before the vampire. Shogun. I showed you it before, didn't I? The chat log between Neidhart and Shogun. That was where Shogun had written it. Whose eyes are those eyes? Which means... Yua inched her face closer and closer to mine. Her tone of voice was calm, but the eyes shining behind her glasses were ice cold. She was staring at me. I looked away. Shogun is you. In other words... In other words, what? Please, Nishijou-kun. Please. That was when I noticed Yua's hands were trembling. Or was it just that my hands were shaking so much that it made it look like hers were too? And while I pondered that, something unbelievable came out of her mouth. Don't kill anyone anymore. What? You aren't even aware of it, are you? But I understand that too. After all, you have no way of knowing Nishijou-kun. Knowing what? Yu's eyes shone with sorrow. Even though she had been staring at me intently until now, she suddenly cast her eyes downwards. You have DID, multiple personalities. I had multiple personalities. At first, I fully intended on turning you over to the police. Despite how confused I was, you was continuing to talk. And if I couldn't do that, I thought I'd try this method instead. But when I investigated you, I found that you were suffering just as much as I was. The eyes behind US glasses once again took hold of me. They pleaded with me. And no matter how hard I tried to see it as someone else, I couldn't see her as anything other than genuinely worried about me. And that horrified me. I want to help you. This girl's delusions were getting out of control. What was she saying? What she was saying was totally insane. Or was it? Was it really insane? So, let's go to the hospital. We'll do it together. I didn't truly know myself, understand myself. I had posted in a chat room under the name Shogun without knowing it. Even though I had no memory of it, I had become friends with a girl named Rimi. It wasn't just me sleepwalking. It wasn't some higher being controlling me. Maybe the person controlling me from the inside of my head literally was inside of my head. I wasn't me. I wasn't me. I was a different personality. I had multiple personalities. My heart had a throbbing, stabbing pain ripped through it. That wasn't possible. This entire thing was bullshit. Who would ever believe that? It too was yet another one of Yua's delusions. She was my enemy. She was impeding my way of life. She was trying to trap me. She was trying to destroy my mind. Even the hospital itself was under Shogun's reign. The only person I trusted, Dr. Takashina, had disappeared in such a sudden, inexplicable manner. Shogun must have made him disappear, and if I did what Yua said, he'd make me disappear too. I don't believe her. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. I was stuck in my own head. I shoved Yua off of me with every ounce of strength I could muster. Lol. Get bonked. Slamming into the wooden sliding door behind me, Yua slumped down on the floor with a grimace. Finally freed from Yua's grasp, I grabbed my bag, stepped over Yua's body, and made for the exit. Wait. Still crumpled on the floor, Yua grabbed my ankle. Her hair was disheveled, and her glasses were falling off her face, but she made no efforts to fix them. Seeing her clinging so desperately to me terrified me so much, a pathetic scream escaped from my mouth. She was my enemy, one of Shogun's underlings. I won't be deceived. I won't be deceived by you ever again. Don't touch me! I shouted as loud as I could, and Yua quickly let go of me. In that window, I bolted out of the room. I tore a 5,000 yen bill from my wallet and slammed it down on the counter in front of the dumbfounded receptionist, and then, without getting my change, I burst onto the elevator leading outside. I nearly tumbled out of the elevator as I burst outside. The sun was already setting. I examined my surroundings. There were people everywhere. Run. It doesn't matter where. Just run. My base wasn't safe. She was following me. I had no idea where to go, but I started running anywhere. Thinking that Yua might get off another elevator at the moment now, that she might threaten me again in that ice-cold voice of hers, I didn't want to stay there even for a second longer. I looked behind me over and over again, but I kept on running regardless of what I saw. The pedestrians were all in the way. I bumped into a businessman and a Dokunes high school girl. What was happening? When that happened, I was showered with curses, but I didn't stop. I just kept on running. I had to breathe. I picked some random ass road without thinking. I still had no idea where I was running. I stopped to catch my breath. I checked the scenery around where I was standing. It was in front of Mariuchi, which meant I could take shelter in Miyashita Park. I would take a quick break there and then run somewhere else further. If I went to Yoyogi Park, there'd be plenty of places to hide, so I could spend the night there. I couldn't help but wonder if she was behind me. I didn't see any signs of Yua. However, I wouldn't be surprised if she appeared in front of me at any second now, complete with the most terrifying demonic expression I've ever encountered. My instinct screamed at me. Run! You need to run! The great king of terror has something in the city. Exhausted, I weakly sat down on the pavement of the Miyashita Park overpass. But I'd run too much, my throat was dying. I wanted to drink a nice ice-cold cola, but I didn't see any vending machines nearby. Maybe it was okay that I'd come this far. No, I couldn't be careless. I still had to be fully aware of my surroundings. There should only be a few people in Miyashita Park at night, or at least that's what I expected, but to much my surprise, that wasn't the case. There was a businessman walking briskly through the park, likely using it as a shortcut, an older man sitting on a bench, messing with his cell phone, several homeless people sitting around absent-mindedly, and lastly a person wearing blue talking to one of them, a police officer. Let's go bad. The police, I gulped audibly. I remember that I'd been questioned by a pair of detectives a while ago. I hadn't heard a single thing from them since then. It's a little cheeky say. And a cheeky holy fuck, is that only 8 slots? The fuck is this bullshit? That's fine. I hadn't heard a single thing from them since then. They said they were going to guard the area surrounding my base, but there was no sign of them following through on that. Although, according to Mizumika, they'd apparently come to investigate Sume. Those two detectives, what were their names again? I can't remember. I told both of them the truth about what I'd witnessed at the scene of the crucifixion, but in hindsight, I couldn't help but think that they'd clearly been looking at me with suspicion as I did. Right as I thought that, a policeman who had been talking to the homeless man glanced at me, or at least that's how I felt. Oh no. Terrified thoughts ran through my head. I sat up and looked around at the park once again. The man who had been sitting on a bench while staring at his cell phone was taking quick glances at me, or at least that's what it felt like. The things aren't swaying anymore. Does that mean it's like actually happening? Fuck, I don't know. Right then, a man with a stern face entered the park and sat down on the pipish fence, opened a newspaper and started reading. In a dark place with next to no streetlights, a man seemingly a businessman who had been walking quickly through the park was now standing at the edge of the overpass, gazing down at the street below. The policeman who had been talking to the homeless man was now looking at me while contacting someone on his police radio. Cold sweat crept down my back. No. Were these guys cops? Maybe they were tailing me. If that were true, I was completely surrounded. You had already made up her mind and decided that I was a murderer, and then, based on her delusion, she'd probably gone and reported it to the police. You're kidding me. I couldn't help but utter that out loud, a bit of volume low enough that so no one could hear me. Was this another part of Shogun's evil plan? I didn't do it. I didn't kill anybody. I'm not the murderer. Why should I, a coward who couldn't talk to people worth shit, be treated like a murderer and then subsequently chased by the police? Why did I have to get caught up in you as insane, delusional bullshit? Regardless, I couldn't stay here. My chest still hadn't stopped pounding, and it hurt to breathe, but I still had to get out of here. I made my way over the overpass, trying my best to look as natural as possible. Right in front of me was a staircase leading down to Meiji-dori. I'd go down it, and then I'd escape using the road. As I reached the middle of the overpass, a new figure appeared on the stairs. It was a woman, and judging from the suit, an office worker. She was holding a cell phone to her ear and talking with a blank expression on her face as she walked up the stairs. Could she be a detective too? I passed by her, my heart pounding the entire time. Whose eyes are those eyes? Yes, shirts with that phrase on them are going crazy right now. I'm going to go and buy one this Sunday. They sell them on Takeshita Dori, which is located in Harajuku. I felt really uncomfortable. Her speaking style was really awkward. It felt strangely theatrical. Who the hell was she talking to anyway? Who was on the other end of the phone? Was she even talking to anyone at all? But in the end, the woman who took no action against me. I finally made it to the stairs and with relative ease. Upon reaching them, I looked back toward the park. The cop wasn't following me. He was standing in the same place as before, still talking to his police radio. One of the homeless people who had been sitting on the ground was starting to get up, but none of the other homeless people were moving. But then, before I knew it, the man on the bench and the man reading the newspaper both got up and started walking towards me. The two men then glanced at each other, then they were exchanging looks, or at least it seemed like it. I then turned my gaze to the office worker who had passed me. The office worker who had passed me just a few moments ago turned her head to look at me. The second our eyes met, she turned her head away with a start. Her cell phone was still being held up to her ear. She wasn't speaking to anyone. She wasn't speaking anymore. I was hit with an amount of fear that I'd never experienced before, and I immediately bolted down the stairs. As I ran down Meiji-dori towards the station, I looked down at the overpass. The office worker was leaning over the railings and pointed at me. It wasn't just her. Two men were sprinting across the overpass. They were really cops. All of them were cops. Shit. This was all of Yua's fault. She had to set me up. Should I just tell them I was innocent? But even if I did, I couldn't get away from the fact that I was literally running away from the police right now. Besides, I was sure that the police would find some way to pin it on me regardless. They would never believe an attacking freak like me. I didn't have time to think about what would happen next. But now I just needed to get away from you and the police. That was the sole thought occupying my mind. I passed under a pedestrian overpass and ran up the stairs leading to it. There were people everywhere, all of them blocking my path. It felt as if each and every one of them deliberately getting in my way, like they all had some sort of malicious intent. Everyone looked like they could be cops. I was this close to completely panicking. I looked behind me and saw someone sprinting after me. I caught a glimpse of a person cutting through the crowd just like I was. It was one of the people that I'd seen in the park. I didn't know who it was. It didn't matter. They were following me regardless. I was horrified. If I got caught, my life would be over. I would be falsely accused of a crime I didn't commit, sentenced to death, locked up in a high-security prison for decades and decades, and then after I finished enjoying that living hell, I would finally be told, "Alright then, your numbers are up. Time for you to die." I didn't want that. I wouldn't be able to handle that. I didn't want to live like that. Even Even if I somehow managed to prove that it was a false accusation, once I was branded a criminal, it would never go away. Everyone around me would look at me suspiciously for the rest of my life. I didn't want that. I hadn't even done anything. I turned in onto a small street that was completely deserted and kept running as hard as I could. But I had been running ever since I left that cafe. I still hadn't been able to catch my breath. My lungs were begging for oxygen. My legs were shaking with fatigue. I hated myself for not exercising more, but it was too late for that regardless. Finally, I couldn't run anymore, so I doubled over and gripped my knees with my hands. The place where I stopped looked familiar. The distinctive red brick walls paired with a gigantic backlit sign that read Gigantus. I'd been here before with Misumikun. We'd come here to see the Phantasm concert, or to be more specific, to see that lead singer Fez. But now the place was quiet and empty, with the only light being from the vending machine, dimly illuminated by surroundings. Frustrated that my breathing still hadn't gone back to normal, I looked back towards the road I had sprinted down. The street was dimly lit and narrow. As the Tokyo Line train slowly passed by directly above me, despite the striking glow of the light leaking from the windows of the train, even I didn't reach the streets below. I stared at the road in front of me. I wondered if I had managed to lose them being you and the police. It was too dark for me to tell for sure. Come with me. Ah! Suddenly, I heard a woman's voice in my ear, and I let out a pathetic scream before toppling to the ground. Was it Fez? Yeah. It was Fez, dressed in a flashy outfit that she would wear to the concert. As she quietly looked down at me from the darkness, the erupted energy that she had given off while she was on stage was now completely absent, making her appear almost transient, like she might have disappeared at any moment. Because of the darkness, I couldn't see her expression. As my mind wandered in my surprise, Fez gently held out her hand to me. Stand up, quickly. Her tone of voice was dispassionate, but I could tell that she wasn't going to let me argue with her. Still holding out her hand, Fez slowly craned her neck, then narrowed her eyes as if she had seen through the darkness. We need to run. Why? Did she know that I'd been running from you and the police? I was freaked out for a second, but I knew that right now salvation was almost within my grasp. That was why if I was clinging to my only hope left, I took her hand. Her hand was cold to the touch. Right as I stood up, Fez started running. As I was already utterly exhausted, I felt incredible resentment. But I knew that if it hadn't been for Fez, I would have never been able to stand up again, and the police would have likely caught up with me. I still wanted to quench my dying thirst in some way, but I knew I couldn't afford to. Fez pulled me by the hand and led us forward. We entered a narrow alleyway and made turn after turn after various intersections. I had no idea where I was running to. I wasn't even familiar with the layout of Shibuya, so I had no choice but to follow Fez the entire time. I nearly entertained the idea that this could be another trap set by Shogun, but I shook this thought out of my head. Even if Fez was another one of Shogun's underlings, there would be nothing I could do about it. My legs were heavy with lactic acid, and I was starting to feel lightheaded, probably because my brain hadn't been getting enough oxygen due to all the running. I was this close to crying out and saying that I couldn't run anymore. In fact, I may or may not have said it several times unconsciously. But even so, Fez never looked once back at me. She just kept on going. Before I knew it, I found myself on a road where Shuto Expressway ran overhead. Shibuya station was only a little bit further away, but there was barely any people around. Without a shadow of hesitation, Fez started to head down the stairs that led into the gaping maw of the underground. Upon reaching the bottom of the stairs, she finally came to a stop. I let go of Fez's hand and doubled over the stairs, gasping for breath. I wondered how much running I had done today. I didn't think I'd ever exercised so much in my entire life. For a while, the only sounds present in the dim, dreary underground tunnel were the sounds of me and Fez breathing. I looked up at the entrance where she had just come down from, but there was no sign of pursuers. I guess that meant we managed to escape somehow. That aside, that was my first time learning that this underground passageway even existed. On top of that, even though it was fairly close to the train station, there wasn't a single person passing through it. One of the fluorescent lights that illuminated the tunnel was on its last legs, flickering on and off without end. There was the faint smell of rotting garbage in the air. It was a place that symbolized the underground side of Shibuya. If someone were to attack me here, even if I screamed as loud as I could, I may not even reach the outside. This was not a place I would ever want to come alone to. Alright, now we're gonna do good. Alright, I'm gonna grab my food. I'm gonna do like 5-10 more minutes and then I'm finishing. Hopefully I'm gonna finish with this scene, but I don't know. Still breathing heavily, I slowly examined Fez's profile. She was a charismatic songstress who captivated the youth of Shibuya. People even called her a prophet. And now that very same Fez was here, alone with an attacker freak piece of shit like me. I wasn't sure how to make of it. Her forehead was beading with sweat, and with several drops running down her cheeks as she was wiping it off with the back of her hand. Her breast, exposed through her camisole, rose and fell with every breath she took, a glimpse providing healthy eroticism in an atmosphere flowing with ennui. What the fuck is ennui? Feeling of listlessness and dissatisfaction arising from a lack of occupation or excitement. He is succumbed to ennui and despair. Interesting. Moe. Moe didn't do it justice. The best and only possible word befitting of her was erotic. Okay, don't have like a little moment with her. I just didn't want it. I just didn't want you to die, bro. The camisole with its cross-shaped design was downright criminal, and I couldn't help but think that it didn't look like she was wearing a bra underneath. Maybe she really wasn't wearing a bra. That would be very interesting, I think. What kind of underwear did Fez usually wear, I wonder? Probably the sexy kind, like black or red. But personally, I'd want them to be a nice, clean white. Wait, what kind of stupid shit was I thinking about? Did I forget the situation I was in? You were being pursued, were you not? Yeah. By the police? I nodded in response. It wasn't just the police. Yua was following me too, but I was too exhausted to tell her that. I am the same. Huh? What was that supposed to mean? They asked me if there was a connection between the lyrics I wrote and some incident I cannot recall the name of. They were very insistent. New-Jan. The lyrics that Fez had written matched up with a string of incidents. That was why all her sheep probably wouldn't shut up about those rumors they'd been saying that she was a prophet. It seems that they suspect me as the New-Gen criminal. I thought the same thing back when I first heard the lyrics. Hell, I'd even thought that Fez herself was Shogun, but considering the fact that she saved me, she probably wasn't. Putting all that aside, I wonder why Fez was even there. Her saving me must have just been a coincidence. Yeah, it had to be. I mean, I'd been right in front of the concert venue, so there was probably just another concert today. You were being pursued as well. Why? Did you do something wrong? She told the police. That girl, she told the police that she's making me out to be the New-Gen criminal. You was trying to set me up. God damn it, Shogun and that. God damn it, Shogun and that girl were going to ruin my life. I see. So we are both potential suspects then. Hehe. Why was she laughing? I'm innocent. I yelled out frantically, but my voice reverberated loudly throughout the underpass. But I couldn't stop now. It was just a witness. I took some evidence back home with me without thinking. That's all. I didn't kill anyone. Then, Fez whispered, returned to her original dispassionate voice. It must be the guidance of a higher power. What? Another fucking mental case. Another goddamn Shinobu. Whether or not what you saw was real or illusion is inconsequential. That horrible scene. There was any possibility that it had just been a delusion, but it just felt all so real. The pain and anger that you are harboring now. Is it all necessary? Oh, what was she saying? I was utterly dejected. I had been slightly suspicious back at the concert, and I turned out to be right. Fez really was a total schizo freak. There was a fine line between genius and insanity. This is pushing it. This is why you must find it. Quickly. Find your sword. I was taken aback. That was what Fez had told me back when we'd met at school. If you do, you'll be granted salvation. She'd said this before. Aside from the police, what scared me the most was Shogun and his underlings. I had no idea why, but they were all trying to trap me, and they were all clearly had malicious intent. In order to save myself from them, in order to protect myself, I needed a D-sword? Yes. Fez's lips twisted into a shape of a smile. You have been studying, it seems. If that's what you mean, then I already got one. I have a D-sword. It's at my I know. She knew? How did she know? I saw. You were walking directly in the middle of Shibuya. You were gripping a large toy, and you looked fairly embarrassed. Was she talking about the day I bought the D-sword? Ah, Fez had seen me. Fuck my life. Wait a minute. What has she just said? A toy? The smile had already disappeared from Fez's face. She glanced at my face and took out a small sigh. Her sense of eating, her aloofness was so pure it made me feel uneasy. The sword you bought is a fake. I wasn't even that surprised. I expected it, honestly. The sword I bought was way too cheap compared to the one Senna had. It didn't even glow. Besides, the idea that I saw that would be supposedly bring salvation was being sold for 10,000 yen along with new sex toys was the least anime thing possible. So yeah, I wasn't surprised. Instead, I felt a furious surge of anger welling up inside me. Anger at the gloomy shopkeeper who tricked me. Anger at myself for being so pathetic that I tricked her easily. Anger at first for saying nothing meaningful in the slightest instead of just giving me a straight answer. But fine. I stood up and moved closer to Fez. Normally I would never have done such a thing like that, but I was desperate. I had been chased by you and the police only a few moments ago, and I was absolutely terrified. Not only that, but in the past month or so, I've experienced countless bad thoughts. It was all too much for me. I couldn't take it anymore. I had to get my hands on a sword so I could get back to my peaceful way of life. So tell me, how do I get my hands on a D sword? Fez's expression stiffened, and she turned to me. Watch. Did she like take it out of her chest? Was that something? Was that a different anime? She suddenly thrust the palm of her hand right out in front of me. Stopping from coming any closer, Fez curled her right hand into her fist. Upon swinging her hand behind her in a motion resembling a fat fist, together with a sound akin to that of glass breaking, the empty space cracked, and then it shattered. My eyes went wide. I was speechless. Fez stared at me, her expression not changed at the slightest. Within the cracks of the shattered space was a deep darkness spreading wide. With a hand buried between the fissures, Fez pulled her hand back towards her with tremendous force. Dude, cool animation. And now within that hand was a giant sword. A D-sword. The fissures in the empty space were repaired in an instant. The cracks disappeared as if nothing had happened. It all happened in the span of a few seconds. Had that been a magic trick, or was I just seeing a delusion? It was far too removed from reality. I couldn't believe what had just happened right in front of me. This was a fantasy anime. Close. This sword is that which bends fate to its will. That sword, it was the one she'd be wielding at the concert, the one I'd have mistaken for a microphone stand. Its shape almost looked like a battleship ripped straight from a sci-fi anime. This sword is which converges all sorrows. There was no straight line to be found on it, and yet it appeared incredibly sharp, incredibly beautiful, incredibly sinister. This sword is that which interferes with the transcendental place, and that if you do so as much touched it, your fingers would be severed from the bone. Wait, what do you mean transcendental place? I was mesmerized. Her D-sword utterly captivated me, which was why I asked her without thinking. It is akin to another space. Oh boy, info dump time. This was definitely an anime at this point. Another possibility within the same dimension. Or perhaps a delusion. A delusion? Stating as though it does not provide much in the way of meaning. The sole thing we can know for certain, however, is that the sword exists within that region. So in other words, she was saying that her D-sword was a product of her delusions. Did that mean that the supernatural phenomena I had seen before had also been delusions? Had they not been real? That's impossible. Oh, if it were a delusion, then why am I seeing Fez's sword right now? Do not be led astray by words. Try turning around. I was baffled by Fez's request, but I compelled it anyway. Behind me was a flight of stairs, and on those stairs, oh, was Fez wearing only white lingerie. Whoa. Fez was standing right beside me. Fez was standing on the stairs right in front of me. Two of the same person, in the same place. And not only that, but one of them was incredibly sexy, wearing only her underwear. Oh my god. And completely and utterly flustered, I relentlessly stuck back and forth between two Fezes over and over again, comparing them. They were the exact same, right down to the facial features, height, and hairstyle. The only difference were their clothes, and whether or not they were carrying a sword. They weren't twins or anything like that, and they didn't just look alike, they were one and the same. I was used to seeing girls in underwear in Ergo, but in here I couldn't handle it for some reason. I ran into Naname's smelly, piss-stained underwear countless times, so you'd think this would be no big deal, but for whatever reason, I just couldn't get myself to follow that line of logic. Oh, lovely. Oh, fuck, that's hot. Fez was standing in the middle of a disgusting underpass in only her underwear. I felt like I was about to lose my mind from how unbelievable that situation was. Even though I knew I shouldn't be looking at her, I couldn't help but feel like I was this close to stealing a glance anyway. It took an insane amount of willpower to keep my eyes down. I'm sorry. I automatically apologized because I knew that only a few minutes ago I had a delusion about this very thing. Fez wearing white lingerie. This is the delusion you wished for. The two fezzes said this at the same time as if they could see right through me. I jumped, startled. I could feel my face rapidly turning red. I needed an excuse. I needed a way out of this. If a 3D girl labeled me a pervert, it'd be over. I'd be socially obliterated. Oh, okay, wait. While that may be important, the pressing matter is what the hell is happening? Cool. Right. Oh dear. Right, let's leave it there. I want to eat my foodies. Quick save. No, not quick load. Save. Cool. Right, I'm gonna leave it there. Anybody, no one streaming. All right, let's just leave it here. I'm gonna chill on my own. All right, thanks for watching. Anybody there? Bye bye. I'll be back soon.